All right, welcome back to the IMNerd podcast, guys. I'm your host, Freyway, and I'm here with my co-host, Kenny, and our special guest, Cheyenne, a.k.a. Major Plays Games. He's back. He's been on every Last of Us episode and a couple others as well. How you guys feeling? We're doing The Last of Us episodes 6, 7, 8, 9, but also just the entire season 1 as a whole.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where we're at.
I'll be on every episode of Last of Us for season 2, baby.
If he wakes up in time.
So that did suck a little bit. We did watch it like 2.5 hours late. I take complete blame for that.
I mean,
it's not fun, all right?
Oh, okay.
Every week.
I'm not part of the group that watches it on Discord.
Yeah. Every week, right? We meet up at a certain time. Everyone's there, and it makes a big deal about it. My cousin Nick, he used to be there all the time. But then he had a kid.
He was there for episode 1.
Then he had a kid and he never showed up again. He was like, "What day does this happen? This happens on Sunday? I thought it was on Tuesday."
We never saw him again, man.
Wait, who has a kid? Who are you talking about?
My cousin Nick.
I don't know if we should go into it.
Nick Stango?
I'm kidding.
I'm about to say Stango does not have a fucking kid. I've been mastering the people with this guy.
He has a kid.
He can't even have a kid. He's not okay. Anyway,
I know he's not even. He's not even fertile or whatever. Or virile. He's not a virile man.
But anyway, we So this last Sunday comes around, right? Yep. And it's getting close. I message Cheyenne, "Yo, you awake?" He doesn't respond. 12 comes, and Cheyenne's nowhere to be found. We're all in the chat waiting for him to show up, and then I go, maybe he didn't update his clocks for daylight saving.
Oh,
maybe
yeah, that is a thing.
Maybe so generous.
I was like, let's give him till 1. Let's give him till 1.
Right,
one comes.
Such a generous friend.
1 comes, still no Cheyenne to be seen. 2 comes, no Cheyenne. Around 2:30, he goes,
2:30.
"Oh my God, guys, I'm sorry."
Here's the truth, though. I'm just gonna be honest, right? I set an alarm and I heard it and turned it off.
That happens. I've done that before, obviously.
But it was but I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna be like, "Oh no, I slept through it." I turned it off and I was like, I can get 10 more minutes out of that. And then it was 2.5. It was in my brain, I was like,
what's funny about what you're saying?
Yeah,
in the very last episode of the podcast, literally the last episode we just recorded a few days ago, I had a situation come up where I was talking about how I slept through the Jujutsu Kaisen movie for an hour, but I thought I would sleep for 5 minutes because in the movie theater, it was really comfortable, heated seats and all that.
Oh, man.
I just went to sleep what I thought was 3 minutes.
In the theater, too. That's such a fucking bummer.
It is, yeah. Because the other thing about those anime movies, the AMC pass, the A-list thing, does not work on those. So you don't get to see those for free. They're not free. They don't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're not covered. When I go see My Hero or any anime movie ever, right? You have to pay for those. For some reason, those are just completely excluded from AMC A-list. Yeah, so it really sucks. But to your point, Cheyenne, I know what it's like to fall asleep for what you think is 5 minutes and it's just 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
No, but even in my head, I was like, I'm not even gonna lie, Fraser. I've got to be honest with you boys. I was like, it's good. I could maybe get 10 minutes, but I know myself. I was like, this is not gonna be 10 minutes.
I was so angry.
I scumbagged.
Because then it was 3 a.m. and we had to go to bed because we had to be up in the morning. And it was just
so which one did you guys?
I'll tell you real quick though. We
didn't watch it till 3 a.m. We didn't watch it till 3 a.m.
I was like, when I was there, I was like, okay, let's watch it now. We're ready. And Nick was like, "Oh, I'm playing RuneScape." I was like, "Okay, well, turn it off." He's like, "Oh, well, I'm doing this thing." It's like, dude.
Wait, which Nick are we talking about here?
Australian Nick.
Okay,
it's like, dude, if you can't get it going now at 3, then we can't watch. It's off the menu. He's like, "Oh, give me this." I was like, "Fuck, dude."
It was annoying. I was in a bad mood through the whole episode, but
you know what's weird, Kenny? I could actually feel your energy a little bit when we talked briefly on Sunday about when we were going to record the Last of Us episode, and you said to me, one of the things you said before the conversation ended was, Cheyenne's not picking up, he's not answering.
Yeah.
And something about the way you wrote it. I'm not even gonna go to the chat.
I mean, I was in the wrong. I was in the wrong.
I could just tell that Kenny was a bit annoyed. Kenny doesn't really get annoyed too easily, but something about that I could just feel that he was not feeling it that night.
Connie was annoyed, and Connie doesn't really get annoyed.
When I get annoyed, it's very rare that I get annoyed if something directly affects me. I get annoyed if it indirectly affects somebody else. So the fact that I had to message Fraser and say, "Hey, I don't think we can record Monday." Yeah. The fact that I had to message you and tell you that I had to delay recording, that annoyed me even more than the fact that it got delayed for me. Because it's now I got to message other people and
that's true. You didn't have to go make your rounds and be like, "All right, well, now we can't record when we were supposed to record it."
I wanted to record at that time. I think it was just too late though.
Yeah, because then after we watched
I was like, oh yeah, let's do that.
After we watched it, I was like, all right, I gotta go. I'll talk to you about it on the podcast. We're gonna record on Wednesday. Is that fine? And he was like, yeah, but I thought we were doing Monday. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't know where you were at, so I had to tell Frazier we can't do it.
Like I thought you died, so.
Well, and it was like I gotta take the hit. Like I was guilty. I'm guilty as charged.
Yeah, it happens.
But
okay.
But
so
anyway,
we left off at episode 5.
That's all diatribe.
Yes, we left off at episode 5 with Henry and Sam, and that episode literally made me cry. I wasn't ready.
It was an awesome episode.
I wasn't ready for the way to end it at all. That really hurt my heart.
Episode 3 made you cry too.
Episode 3 made me cry as well. I said that this show has made me an emotional wreck. It definitely because I'm gay, but not just because of that. I think that in general, this show kind of pulls at your heartstrings.
I'll say, I mean, I think for me, the top 3 episodes are
we're doing
the episode 3, the Henry and Sam episode, which I guess was 5, and episode 6. 3, 5, and 6 are my personal top.
Oh, you like 6 a lot too?
Yeah,
I love episode 6. So episode 6, which is the episode that we're on, is that's just like when the brothers reunite.
Yes,
Joel reunites with his brother, and like that shit always gets to me. And when he gets there, and when Joel just kind of starts realizing, like, dog, I've been radioing you for months, and like you could have radioed like all that shit. And then like when they were talking, and like he was like, I'm getting married, and then like he got mad at Joel for like not being happy out. Like all of that shit was like so fucking good to me, and like I got it.
So good, man.
Here's what was weird to me about episode 6, because I liked every single episode of this show. Honestly, I haven't really ranked all of them, but I do agree with the ones that you have as like top 2 at least. Like episode 3 and episode 5 were insane. Episode 5 is insane because it is the most you see of the infected outside of episode 1 when the swarm comes up and you see the bloater and all that stuff. And episode 3 was just the best love story I've ever seen, probably ever. But so episode 6, what really surprised me, can I be honest here? I did not think that he was going to meet his brother. I thought that this was a tragic story where like he would keep getting close to his brother and something would keep on making him either derail or like detour basically from actually getting to see him. Now, granted, I think there's a time skip between 5 and 6, I want to say. Like after 5, when Henry and Sam die, it's a 3-month time skip. It's winter time, right?
Not 3 month there. I think 3 months after he gets injured. No,
but I think it's 3 months before. Between 5 and 6, I'm pretty sure it's a 3-month time skip because there's like snow on the ground.
Yeah. That's right. And they
so
go out.
I just did not think that he was actually ever going to see it. And this doesn't mean I don't know anything about the video game, so I just assumed that Joel was never going to see his brother again.
What's interesting is I kind of thought the same thing. I thought either he was never going to see him again, or he would like find him and he would just be infected already, or something like that. Something like
that, yeah. Like a really sad scene where he walks in a room and his brother's just like, like just crazy and shit.
What's crazy is what still made it kind of tragic is that like he finds his brother. And his brother's not only is he completely fine, he's thriving. Like
they're living great.
It's funny because I was gonna.
That's kind of what makes it tragic too. Because like
did you listen to the podcast? Was it Kenny? I think they talk about it on the podcast. No. He even says that he's like, not only is he doing good, he's thriving. Like,
he's fucking thriving. He's got a wife. His wife's pregnant. They have this whole community, and it's like I get it. The rules are like, and the rules make sense, right? To keep that town safe. But at the same time, it's like, dog, I'm your brother. Like I've been trying to. Half the reason I traveled across the world, like, I was doing a mission for this little girl, but the real reason was I was trying to find you, and I thought you were in danger.
Bro,
and like we're living fucking
they have
good.
Food and a movie theater and movie night,
and they had like younglings watching fucking old black and white flicks.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
These kids watching, like,
honestly, that was the closest thing to regular life that I've seen so far in the show. Like
that's where Frazier's trying to get to. Like when it happens, like Frazier's trying to get there.
Basically,
we all are.
If I'm not there within the first like 2 days of the outbreak, I'm just offing myself. Like if I'm not at that exact community, if that community is not built and completely run on its own without me doing anything, then I'm like, if they can't get me Starbucks within the first 5 days of the outbreak, I'm good. Like
there's another community you could end up in.
I don't want to end up in that. I don't want to end up in that.
Like a nice little pastor.
Gentleman.
I don't want to go to the cannibal pedophile fucking community. Get me out of there.
A lot of slander and lies.
He would make me cut my facial hair off so I look younger. Hey, little boy, you want some beef? We got some canned beef.
We don't have many black boys around here.
Yeah. I could just see it now.
Oh, you're one of the special ones. Ooh.
I found God after the apocalypse.
He was wilding.
Yes.
He was wilding. But yeah, episode 6 is it's in my top. It's my personal top 3 because a lot of it really got to me, and I thought the writing was really good
because nothing specific even really like happens.
Yeah, it's just developmental.
But it's just so good. Yeah, it's like
is that also the episode with the Hawaiian people, like the old couple? Where
I love them.
Yeah. That was the intro, right?
Man, those like Native American people.
Yeah, they said don't go next to that sea or something like that. Like that river is the river of death.
And I also love how they had no fucks. Like they just were laughing at him and shit.
They thought that he was hilarious. They weren't even afraid, really. Like not to be completely
I could watch
honest.
a spinoff of just their fucking relationship.
Yeah, they're just living out in the boonies. Because here's what I also like: that the show has a bit of realism about it. As far as the infected go, they just are not in that area at all, really.
Yeah,
where it's freezing
in
cold.
The Walking Dead, like. Something would happen, they'd think they're safe, and then a fucking tribe of infected would just show up.
Yeah, a horde, like an actual horde would come out of nowhere.
And it'd be like, why would they even be there? Like, there's not enough humans for them to be there.
And it's freezing cold. I just imagine that something that required the temperature of the earth to get hotter to survive and to actually evolve to what it is right now. Like the cordyceps, in order for this outbreak to happen, episode 1, they explained that if the earth were to suddenly heat up, which is global warming, this is like foreshadowing of what's happening right now. If the earth were to heat up, that allows this mutation to happen in the first place. So if it's freezing cold, I imagine that one of the safe havens on Earth would be like Antarctica, Alaska, stuff like Greenland, places that are just notoriously known for being absolutely frozen.
Yeah.
I'm glad that there wasn't a scene where that community that his brother's at just mysteriously gets overrun by a horde of infected. That would just be so corny and Walking Dead of the show to do that. But yeah, this episode, like Cheyenne said, nothing really happened per se as far as
it's like just development, but it's done so goddamn well because like I don't know, you just really feel that like brother bond, and he's like,
there's tension too though. There's a lot of tension.
Like you could tell there's so many things that they did in their past that they just never resolved. They just had.
I also love like
the wife's name. Go ahead, Kenny.
Well, first, what's the wife's name? So I was actually about to talk about her.
Okay, good. It's perfect because she's from True Blood, and I think her name was Tara or something like that. True Blood.
So in this, her name's Maria.
Yeah.
So I love how this. Oh my God, this is another thing that got me so annoyed, but it was so good. Is like Maria is talking to Ellie, and she's basically doing like the whole like, be careful, Joel's like. Because now she's with Joel's brother, and she's like, you know, he's a good one. Like Joel made him do all those bad things, and it's like, bitch, get the fuck out! Like you weren't even there. Like,
yeah, I thought that was. I didn't like her. I don't like her character already. I'm gonna just say that. I don't like how she.
Yeah, she was telling Ellie like, be careful who you.
The
like,
only person you can trust is yourself at the end of the day, and all this other stuff. Now I agree. Like, yes, in this world, you probably can only trust yourself, but Joel has gotten her to safety up to this point, and it's been months. Like we can confirm that with actual time that there have been months since they've been traveling together. And I just feel like if Joel was going to do anything, right, it would have happened already. There's no fucking way he's going to risk his life and lose Tess for months and be suspected of doing anything to this little girl. Like it just, that whole conversation that she had, I just felt like was a bit ridiculous to direct it at Joel specifically. If she was directing it as people in general, I would agree. But the fact that she was, like you said, she was trying to like insinuate that Joel was the problem in his
That's
previous
the plight of every sister-in-law, right? It's always like like the plight of every sister-in-law is like, that brother's not the good one. I got the good brother.
I got the good brother.
She wouldn't be like a sister-in-law if she wasn't like, kind of cunty. You know?
Yeah, I mean, guys do the same thing too, right? Like guys, they go like, I got the good sister. The other sister's a whore.
Yeah,
crazy.
You know? You're right. That is true. That is actually a very.
We're all fucked up. But yeah, that one thing I like though is that Ellie, like, she wasn't. That conversation didn't really shake her. She was like, Joel's my guy. Like, you can relax.
I love
like,
that.
Joel's
about
my
Ellie.
fucking guy.
Because I mean, who else could she rely on? Joel's probably been outside of Riley. Joel's probably the most consistent thing in her life. Period. Yeah. Because she said that everyone later on, she says that everyone I've ever loved or cared about has either died or left me.
Everyone fucking except for you.
Yes, I love that episode. So episode 6, he also tries to get rid of her, but he doesn't really want to. But he says that the burden is too much for him to carry because he's still suffering from PTSD of losing his own daughter. So he has like panics and shakes and he wakes up out of his sleep and all types of terrors and stuff that he goes through. as a result of losing his daughter in episode 1. And Ellie, she has an idea of what happened, but she doesn't know for sure. And then when she's talking to Maria mentions how they have like this little memorial thing for her own child, right? I think it's Maria's child and then Joel's child.
Kevin, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
That's like new. Like, I don't really know what that is, but I think it's like new content sort of.
Okay. Well, she explains that little memorial shrine thing that they have is for the loss of Joel's kid and the loss of her own kid. And so that's kind of when Ellie gets confirmation, basically, like, oh shit, Joel had a daughter, which she kind of, again, Ellie's a smart kid. One of the things I really like about her is that she is very, very smart, even though she pretends to not be at times, but she's way smarter than she pretends to be.
She's also a smart ass, like usually.
Yeah, she's like real bitchy, but like not in a way that it annoys you. Like she's bitchy, but she's cool and she's an asshole. And I guess you tend to not expect those characters, like you biasly expect those characters to also not be that smart.
Yeah.
But
no, she's really smart. And so, yeah, this episode, he tries to basically get rid of her and drop Ellie on his brother. And she throws a temper tantrum about it. And then towards the end of the episode, he gives her a choice. Like, what do you want to do? And instantly, like without fucking thinking about it at all, she's like, let's fucking go.
Yep, she gives him the pack, and I love it. She's like, look, I still think you'd be better, but you deserve a choice. And she's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
like,
she shoves the bag in his chest, and she's like, let's fucking go. That part was so good. And then
like Joel wants her to trade up for the younger model because he's old. He has like a lot of fucking miles on him.
Yeah,
like, you know what? Like Tommy can do this. Like he's.
You know what I love? I love that these two people have been companions and traveling together for a very long time now without really knowing who each other is. So from each person's perspective, you understand them, right? So we understand Joel because from his side, he's lost a daughter already. And there have been moments where he almost lost Ellie, like when he was in episode 5 and he was shooting out the window with the sniper rifle. He saw the one child infected that crawled into the car and everything, the clicker that got into the car. That freaked him out. Like seeing her come very close to death multiple times actually freaked him out. And there's even episode 1 where he snaps on the one guy who was about to kill her that he sold the pills to in the beginning of the episode. Right. He beats that guy to death. Like he literally kills that guy because it's like his second chance to save a daughter. So by the time you get to episode 6, he's just had so many situations that he doesn't want to go through anymore. Whereas it's like, I'm going to let her down at some point. At some point, I won't be enough. At some point, we're going to run into something,
right? And
I won't be able to save her, and I cannot bear the thought of it. It keeps him up at night.
You kind of see it when when they crash the truck, when they make it to Kansas City or wherever.
Yes, that was Kansas. Yeah, Kansas City.
They crash the truck, and the one guy is just like choking him, and Ellie shoots him in like his spine or something.
Yeah, she paralyzes him instantly.
Yeah, and he's like he can't fucking move his legs. So like. That is a point where, like, if she wasn't there, he would have just got choked.
Yeah, he would have died right there. She actually saved his life multiple times, and I like that later on in episodes later. He says that the reason why he made it all the way there was her. He's like, she's actually the reason why I got here. Like, she contributed just as much as I did, honestly, to get. I mean, she literally resurrected this man in episode 8. Like, she resurrected him from the dead. But yeah, I like seeing it from both perspectives because on his hand, he's like, I don't want to disappoint her and let her down and at some point lose her the same way I lost my own daughter. And from her perspective, she's like, everyone leaves me. So she has this anxiety about being left at some point out of nowhere and it's coming true.
Yeah.
So episode 6 is a sad episode for everybody. Like, it's just a hard thing to see. And then here's Joel coming to this place that's all nice and shit. And like, they're having movie night. He's looking around like, holy hell, these people are living fine. They're just living perfectly fine, and Ellie would have a great life here without me at all. So it's a pretty sad. I didn't know where the episode was going, and then at the very end, they do like a cliffhanger ending where they go to what I guess was supposed to be a hospital or a college campus or something.
College campus, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where they thought they were going to meet the
whole
Fireflies,
college
right?
Campus segment. Yeah. I think they thought they were going to meet them there. That whole college campus segment. I think I checked in an episode like right before we started. I think it's about 4 minutes. That's like an hours long adventure of like you explore the whole fucking campus. And yeah, it's just wild. It's wild. Like it didn't really feel rushed. It felt like it made sense.
Yeah, I was about to say,
But,
they went into a couple, they went into the building, they saw that it was abandoned, they started looking around at the medical supplies, they saw that whoever was there clearly left recently. And then they saw monkeys, which that
monkeys,
part,
yeah, that's like in the game too. Yeah.
so that part slightly creeped me out. I wasn't sure what to think about that, because just seeing a random pack of monkeys,
fucking wildlife,
yes, but then later on with the giraffe, I realized, oh, okay, they're just showing us that 20 years without human interaction, eventually Mother Nature starts to take over again.
Reclaim the earth. Yeah.
She reclaims the earth.
That giraffe moment I thought was so fucking cool. And like it's cool because any one of us would react the same way. Like if we just saw a giraffe in person, like up on a building, like we'd be stunned by it. Like
one of the most famous parts of the first game. Like that is like one of the most iconic moments of just the giraffe part. It's like
that was awesome.
Well, it's also beautiful. Did you see when she finally ran upstairs and he's chasing her? He's all winded and shit. And when you finally get to the top and you see the view of what looks like a baseball field or something.
I think some shit like that.
Field, I think it was a baseball field. It was beautiful. Like the actual greenery on top of everything that humans had already built. You saw the bleachers and they're all covered by moss and greenery. I thought that seeing the world from that view, like when Mother Nature starts to reclaim it, it's actually breathtaking. Like it's a nice sight.
I know it's like, I guess maybe it's cliche, but I fucking love that about like a lot of post-apocalypse thing. When you see
the first thing that I ever saw like that where it blew me the fuck away was I Am Legend, where it's fucking Times Square. It's like Will Smith just driving a fucking sports car in the middle of New York and it's just empty. And you see like New York is just completely overgrown. Yeah,
that's
like,
wild.
I still say the first like fucking 50 minutes of that movie, 60 minutes are so fucking good.
The first, whatever it may be, the first 3/4 of that movie are amazing.
Yeah.
The end of that movie is so bad.
I actually just watched I Am Legend again.
Really?
So I went on a binge. So The Last of Us has really taken over my life a bit. I guess it's over now because the season is done. But for the last several weeks, for some reason at nighttime when I would need to go to sleep, but I wanted to watch something, I've watched World War Z. I've watched War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. I rewatched
that movie is so underrated, by the way.
I love it.
It's fucking great. Me and Medina love that movie.
I've rewatched I Am Legend, and apparently I Am Legend is getting rebooted with Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith because there's an alternate ending where I guess Will Smith does not die. So
yeah, there is an alternate ending.
I never saw this alternate ending. I only saw the one where he blows himself up at the end. Which kind of didn't make much sense, but yeah. So I really enjoyed watching. Was it the one with Will Smith? I Am Legend. I enjoyed watching I Am Legend because
I'll never forget. My bad to cut you off real quick. Like I saw the trailer when I was in high school. I remember seeing that movie in theaters. It was fucking packed. Every single seat was spoken for, and I remember just watching it in theaters, just being blown away.
It's a very quiet movie too, which I like.
Oh, it's fucking awesome.
I think
the zombies look terrible.
They do in hindsight, right?
I mean, they've aged.
Even at the time, I was like, "Ooh, they're rough." But my favorite scene, though, of like pretty much the whole movie is before you really see them. It's like he chases this dog Sam into the fucking building.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Sam, come on!" And like you see them huddled in a fucking corner, like. And they're like in this dark, and it's like before they really reveal the CGI, it's like so fucking good, man.
Yeah, I love that movie until the end. I just think the end was like I don't know, really contrived.
So
but not only that, it was rushed. It's like, how's the movie over already? We were like, nothing even happened. Like
the part for me that really got me. This is what I wanted to get out about I Am Legend. Basically, Will Smith is acting alone, right? And there is a part where he goes to like a DVD store of some type, like an FYE type of store, and there's these mannequins.
Yep.
And he starts talking to them. And when I tell you that, I just think that Will Smith got his first Oscar like last year. I just feel like there have been multiple opportunities for him to have
doesn't he go like, why won't you talk back to me or something?
Bro,
I do think
like that.
I do think he's been snubbed like before.
Also, the part where his dog, so when he gets captured by his own trap, like he kind of gets hung upside down and he wakes up and it's starting to become nighttime and they only come out at nighttime in that. He's starting to become nighttime and his dog is like basically injured and he has to kill his dog because it got infected and he cries, but you see him like choking his dog out as it's going crazy. It's starting to go feral. It starts to bite at his face and stuff. And he's like, again, he's by himself until the last 15 minutes of the movie, like literally by himself. And the part where he's like strangling his own dog that he's had the whole movie, that shit really, I almost cried watching a movie that's like 15 years old.
Yeah. No, he did an amazing job until other characters get introduced. I love that. The other characters just ruin the movie, but
I can't even tell you how bad I want to see that.
Will Smith kills that movie.
It's really good. I can't even tell you how bad I want to see it. Like it holds up. Like I think like they should honestly just like I don't know. What are they gonna go back and fucking change it? But like lop off like the last 20 minutes and add like another like hour and a half and just.
Well, did you see this alternate ending?
It's an hour and 40 minutes, but it's too fucking short.
Did you see this alternate ending, Cheyenne?
Yeah, it's like I can't fucking remember what happens. It's just like whatever. It's not like it's any better. It's I think the alternate ending is
I didn't know they were rebooting it though. I mean, I'll definitely watch the reboot.
They were talking about a sequel for
this is the rumor right now that it's Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith.
There's like the infected woman or whatever the fuck it is, and he like hands it over to the guy, and the guy's like chilled. The zombie man. It's a fucking zombie man. He goes,
"Wait,
here's
what?
Your wife back," and then they take the wife and leave, and then it's like. Then they go like up north or something, and there's like some sort of society.
Oh, so like the main zombie dude,
right? And so he like gives the girl over to him, like an infected girl that he's trying to like cure.
Okay, because that's who he ends up curing at the very end.
Sort of like awkward, sort of like, well, here's your woman back, and it's like.
That does not sound too good. So both endings sound like they suck, but whatever.
You're not supposed to be able to communicate with zombies like that. I don't know, unless it's believable, and it wasn't. It was just fucking
it's just random.
Shit.
But, all right, back to The Last of Us.
Yeah, I think we covered most of episode 6.
Well, okay, so there's one key part of episode 6 that does happen. So eventually, as they're exploring this college campus and they're looking around, they see monkeys and all this other stuff. A group of guys come out of nowhere, and they basically attack Joel and Ellie. They get on their horse and they're trying to get away, but then one of them gets really close to Joel, and Joel kills him instantly, but as he kills him, the guy breaks off the weapon that he had and stabs Joel really, really deep in like the appendix area around that, somewhere in his chest, in his stomach area.
Stomach-ish,
and so they ride off, and then they get pretty far away, I guess, and Joel starts to collapse off his horse. It reminded me so much of Game of Thrones of season 1 when the Khaleesi and Khal Drogo are riding on horseback, and then he falls off his horse, because I guess in cinema, when a man falls off his horse, that's like a huge symbolic thing about how bad shape they have to be in if they can't even stay up on their horse, right? Like that is like that is
if a man can't stay on his horse, it's like is he even a man? You know?
Yeah, it's because Khal Drogo, I mean, horses, they worship horses in the
Khazar. Dude, they'd fuck horses.
They literally, so much. Actually. So it's a really, really big deal to see him.
Apparently the horses fuck the wives too.
They also will do that.
I've seen those. I've seen that online before.
Yeah.
You've seen what online?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
What's wrong with you?
He's been to a couple donkey shows.
What is wrong with you? How did we get here?
It was Game of Thrones. It was the deleted scenes.
George R. Martin and his nasty ass pen. Anyway,
the deleted scene. Man.
One day we're going to talk about if George R. R. Martin wrote everything. Like I really think that we should do a rant episode about if George R. R. Martin, just go through famous stories and say if George R. R. Martin wrote Shawshank Redemption. Morgan Freeman and Tom Hanks would have been fucking or some shit like that.
Pretty much.
It would have been some wild shit. But yeah, anyway. So he falls off his horse and Ellie's like, Joel, wake up. Come on, Joel, don't leave me. And then she starts basically crying and tearing up because at this point, you fought for this man to be in your life and now he's about to actually die. And that sucks. So that kind of ends the episode on a cliffhanger, which really, I don't know why, but something about the way that episode ended, it caught me off guard because I didn't think that anything bad like that was going to happen to Joel. It was only episode 6, and I thought that it was going to be 10 episodes. So seeing that, I was like, oh, dear God, please don't tell me that Joel's actually like...
I got it going right now in the background, and I'd watched him pull this fucking baseball bat out of his stomach 7 times already. And it's like, God damn, is that deep? It's probably deep. Like a fucking 5-inch wound, and it's just a broken piece of wood.
It's also you definitely get an infection from that for sure.
Yeah, man, just like such a bad stab. So what happens in the game is like you're inside the building, and the guys kind of bum rush you, and you're like it's like a struggle or whatever. And Joel I think he's on the 2nd or 1st floor. He gets pushed over a fucking balcony and he falls on a piece of rebar. And then there's a complete time skip where it's winter, and this is, I think it's like before it's like really snowed over. It's winter, and you see a rabbit just crawl out of its fucking home, and you see an arrow just pierce the rabbit's fucking head. And
this is where you play with Ellie.
She's like hunting, yeah, and it's like, but you're like fully convinced Joel's dead by that point. You don't see her like cushion him up yet, and it's like, I was like, oh well, he's just dead.
Oh, so in the game, they want you to kind of feel like Joel might be dead here.
I pretty much thought he was dead. I was like, yeah, like he's probably dead because she's good with the bow. It was like the fact that she was good with the bow and like hunting for herself.
Right.
And you're like, well, like she's like dead. She's like a beast now. And she was hunting with the bow and shit.
So the direction that the show took is very different in the sense that after episode 6, where they leave you on a Joel dead cliffhanger, episode 7 is completely devoid of having Joel in it for the most part. Like, essentially you find out that he's in a basement somewhere, but he is dying for sure. And she's about to leave because he tells her, listen, you need to go back to Tommy, go somewhere where it's safe without me. Leave me here. Let me just die here. But you make it back and you'll be fine. He'll take care of you. They'll take care of you. You can live your life there. And he wants her to abandon him because he realizes, I'm in such bad shape. No one's coming to help me. You don't know what you're doing. It's only so long that you can keep up this charade where I stay alive because you're feeding me like deer bits and rabbits and stuff. So she looks like she's about to leave. And then she gets up to the top of the steps and she goes to open the door to essentially leave out. And it goes to a flashback. And I love episodes like this in every TV show. Like anything that's a flashback for an entire episode for the most part. I love stuff like this. So seeing where she's in the not the Fedra, she's basically training to be a Fedra officer or some kind of Fedra employee. Some kind of
shit like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Fedra school.
It's a member of their sort of militaristic society that they're kind of prepping her to
They're brainwashing children to be a part of Fedra, and she's one of them.
I don't know about brainwash it. Like it's like yeah, don't get me wrong, like Fedra is like crazy, but it's like I don't know, man. Like you kind of see that moment she has with like that there's like the guard. He's like, remember she kind of has that moment with the guard where
you're talking about the like Chinese guy who's like the sergeant?
Yeah, the Asian dude, Captain Kwong.
Okay, so here's why I say brainwash. I feel like this about real life too. This is not just how I feel about Last of Us. I feel like any school that's designed to have young kids in it, and they're being trained for any military.
Oh, we agree
reason,
then. Yeah,
I feel like that is brainwashing. I do feel like school in general, though, is a bit of brainwashing. Like, for example, I had to undo some of the brainwashing that happened to me because I went to Catholic school. And Catholic school, they definitely try to force their beliefs on you. And like, they want you to follow in the same exact religion footsteps, no matter what your family actually believes in or where you come from. Catholic school, because I went to Catholic school with Muslims. I went to Catholic school with people who are Jewish. Like it's obviously rare to see that, but I have been in Catholic school with people who are not actually Catholic because they just want it. Go ahead.
I was going to say most Catholic schools do have at least one or two. Like there's a couple Jewish people or Muslim people because I went to Catholic school from 1st to 6th grade.
Yep.
And there was always at least like one Jewish kid or like one Muslim kid. And some people might be like, well, why would their parents send them to a Catholic school? It's just because usually those schools are like safer schools than like the local public school.
That's exactly right. Like my family wasn't Catholic. We were Christian, but not Catholic. So my upbringing
There's no fucking Christian schools.
Well, there are, but they kind of sucked back then. Like when I was in school, they weren't up to standard where, my parents paid tuition and the education level at Catholic school was thought to be much higher than public schools. Philadelphia public schools suck. I can't speak for everywhere else, but specifically in Philadelphia, the public schools were just not not very good. In fact, so if people don't know, the way schools work is that your kid has to kind of go to the school that's in the neighborhood because you pay taxes there. So you can't just send your kid to like the good school in the suburbs if they live in like that. You can't really just do that. So I would have been forced to go to a public school in Philly near my house And the ones that were around me were terrible. Wow. I'm talking about kids getting jumped, kids getting their lunch money stolen, kids getting their Game Boy stolen.
Kids just getting the shit beat out of them.
Kids getting the shit beat out of them. Just a lot of bad stuff. Kids getting into gun violence, drugs, all types of things, right? So my family, obviously, probably before I was even born, the decision was made. Like, he's not going to public school. So when I came of age and it was time for me to go to school, they were like, he's going to go to a Catholic school. We're going to pay for it. We're going to work it out. We're going to figure it out. And that's what they did. Even though they didn't believe in Catholicism, because Catholicism is very different from just Christianity in general. Like, for example, there's a lot of emphasis placed on the Virgin Mary in Catholicism. Like, there's been times when we've all gone into the auditorium and they had a statue of Virgin Mary on the stage,
meant to stare and all,
and like we pray and do a rosary, and they crown her with like a wreath. It's like very weird symbolism type stuff. But I had to like unlearn, going back to my original point, I had to like unlearn a lot of the things that they taught me in that school. And I would have done the same thing with any school I went to that was trying to push a religion on me. Like, I think that I'm just a person that has always been a free thinker and just somebody that I don't believe everything at face value.
Oh, you see, like, the free thinkers.
Yeah.
The lizard men are coming. You got to think freely.
Now, the lizard men are going to come in and they're going to get the technocracy.
No, in general, I agree with everything Fraser said. But it is funny, though, because most of the times when I hear people say free thinker, it's like all the people that say free thinker, they all think the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it gets douchey. It always gets like free thinker, it always gets pretentious.
But like that joke aside, I do basically agree with everything Fraser just said.
Yeah, like she's in a militaristic school to become Fedra. And remember, whether you're on the side of the Fireflies or Fedra or somewhere in the middle, I just think that when young kids are involved and they're being groomed to basically be in this type of environment, you know how impressionable children are. So it just seems a little unfair.
The only reason I like disagree, no, I agree like wholeheartedly in pretty much everything. The only reason in this instance I think it's different is because there's basically no society. So like the alternative is like, you just have to go fight monsters.
Right. So here's something I want to also ask you, Cheyenne. I don't know how this works. The show didn't do a good job of explaining this, but like, what the fuck do regular kids do that are not in Fedra school? Like, is there just a regular school for regular?
Like, I don't know. I think it's just there's a lot of different groups. And
my guess, from the way I understood it, and I didn't really question it, I guess the way I understood it was that, assuming you live in a QZ, a quarantine zone, assuming you live in a QZ, you go to Fedra school, because like Fedra is essentially the government of that area. So if you live in a QZ and the QZ is functioning and it hasn't been overthrown or whatever, then you just go to a Fedra school, because that's like what school is.
Okay, so
I'll say this. I'll give you guys a little sprinkle.
Okay.
You see a lot of that in season 2. There you see a lot of different groups and things like that.
Okay. So it's going to get expanded upon. Yeah, because effectively that would mean that every kid is being groomed to be Fedra.
Right.
Which is possible. Well, like that's totally possible, because that's the New World Order.
Because they say in that episode, because everybody Fedra doesn't necessarily mean they're like a soldier, because like
she was going to be on toilet duty.
Yeah, Riley was going to be like essentially a plumber, basically.
Like there's so much like
her job assignment was.
Oh right, yeah, she was going to be
like just because she was part of the Fedra school, but her job wasn't to be a soldier or like city watch. Her job was going to be just like toiletry and cleaning and like shit stuff.
But even that being said, I wonder if her schooling was any different than what we saw Ellie running around a gym and basically getting into physical fitness and stuff like that.
Basically,
so I'm wondering,
gym class of sorts, you know what I mean?
Right, but I would say there's probably a bit more intense than
probably
than that, because Ellie knows how to use weapons, right? Like she is very clearly. So at first we think that, and I love the way this is written. When you first meet Ellie, she's like infatuated with guns, and you think that she's never touched a gun in her life, right? Like it kind of just comes off as that she doesn't really know how guns work, that she might have never even seen a gun or like held a gun. But in reality, this little girl is actually, first of all, she's killed someone, right? Like she's just straight up killed a person. So she has a lot more experience than she first puts on in the episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, where she's like, can I touch it? Can I get a gun? Can I get a gun? And then it's like, in reality, Ellie is fully, I won't say more devious, but she just knows a bit more, again, that she puts out, is kind of like my point earlier. I just think that she comes off a certain way in the beginning, and by the end of it, now granted, Joel's been teaching her a lot of stuff, don't get me wrong, that's not lost on me, but I think that she wasn't helpless from the start. She just wasn't as helpless as it kind of seemed. So yeah, episode 7 is an episode all about just her backstory with her best friend, and they also happen to be lesbian. I'm sure that there are people out there. I didn't see as much commotion about this one because that's just how the double standard.
That's because nobody cares if it's girls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People hate gay guys, but they love lesbians.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
That's
so
just
hot
that's just
when it's
society.
lesbians. It's like, who gives a
I
fuck,
literally
man?
didn't
Just
see
let
as much
people do what they
outrage.
do.
Like there was a lot of outrage over Bill and Frank, I would say.
Oh, there was so many.
I did see
so
people
much anger.
say, which I think is fucking crazy. I did see people say that they thought episode 7 was boring.
I saw
which
that
was
too.
fucking crazy to me because I did not think this
I like
episode
how
was boring.
it has such a different pace than the other episodes. It's like it feels like if two kids got into a fucking mall and they were just like went fucking hard, or like do whatever you want. This mall is yours.
That episode is like pure jealousy for me. Like that was awesome.
Yeah, I know,
Could
right?
you
That was
imagine
awesome.
being
That was
cool.
fucking amazing.
They drink
bro.
a little booze.
Oh man,
play some fucking Mortal Kombat 2. Because they play Mortal Kombat 2, it like triggered a thing in me where like I used to love playing Mortal Kombat on 64 at
Me
my
too.
friend's house. And,
Yeah.
Me too. The one
so
with Fujin.
I don't fucking remember.
He's like a wind. He's a wind god. He's basically like Raiden is the thunder god or whatever. He's a wind god. He was my character in I think it was Mortal Kombat.
I would play
4?
Baraka because he had fucking sword arms. Like
Yeah, Baraka was my
I'm
dad's
fucking
favorite
7,
character.
sword arms. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
But yes,
and,
Mortal Kombat used to be that shit.
yeah, man, Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat. I fucking love those games. And like, so I recently got the Mortal Kombat games on Steam, and I got 1 through 3, and I was like playing 1, 2, and 3. They're fucking awful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what did you expect, Cheyenne? Like, where did you think that was going?
There's a combo where you fucking guy goes like this, ho, 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 and you get stuck.
That's
he
Mortal
stun
Kombat.
locks you. You go ho, 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 ho. It's like 30% of your HP. It's like he just I got stun locked. What the fuck do I do?
That's
And I was like,
Mortal
just button mashing.
Kombat.
Like it's one of those games. Like I'm not gonna try to get good at it, like Smash. Like
it's just a fun little thing.
You just mash the buttons like an idiot. And like,
But imagine
just having so much
the
fun
world
with it.
where video games don't really exist, and
you
how
get to play Mortal Kombat 2.
how insane. You saw the excitement they had going to the arcade. I also love, so before they even get to the mall, when the lights first come on, and she's like,
Cool.
go here, turn on this switch, and then let me know when you do or whatever. And then the power comes on and the whole mall lights up. It is one of the best fucking things I've seen in cinema. I just love
Almost
watching
reminds
that.
me of Stranger Things a little bit.
It does. It has a Stranger
like all
Things.
neon. It kind of has that neon-y
This
feel.
episode definitely feels like Stranger Things. I also think it's cool that they had, I don't know how much they had to pay for all of this, but there was a lot of actual brand name stores like The Gap and stuff like that. Victoria's Secret was a big part of it.
Maybe they paid HBO.
Yeah, that's true actually, because the way advertising works, they probably I want you to show
like, who the
Victoria's
fuck's on
Secret.
JCPenney, you know what I mean? They're
Right.
like, hey, cool.
Did you see that
Charlie,
GameStop was in the background, but the lights were
Really?
kind of, it said game, and then I think it had either one of the letters of, it didn't fully say GameStop. One of the lights were out, or like most of the lights were out for stop, but I think game was completely lit up. But it was
what I
GameStop
was saying
sign.
is like the original game, the outbreak happens in 2013, and it's 2033 in the original game. So like they have like fucking they have PSP Vita, which you see in the sequel game, but like
PlayStation
they have
3.
a little bit more cooler shit. Whereas like, could you imagine if games as we knew it stopped in 2003? You have fucking Game Boy Advance and GameCube, and like GameCube's awesome, but it's still so early in the life of
I couldn't
GameCube.
imagine if that's where games stopped.
That would be awful, right? Like, what the fuck would we have? Like, Nintendo DS may or may not be out. I don't think it was out. It's like you got nothing. So it's like
I think the DS is out in 2013.
2003. I mean, like in the
yeah.
Like, I don't think it's out yet.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like 2013. I think you even have
03 is
Nintendo
mad
DS,
early.
3DS.
Oh, yeah. The DS is not out in 03.
Yeah,
I think it was 04. I think.
Maybe.
But yeah, like it's
we do miss
fucking,
out on a lot of shit when
you miss out on a lot in that 10-year gap. There's a lot of gameage going on that like it'd be a fucking bummer, man.
Also,
you know what's also crazy?
Go ahead, Kenny.
Is like, it's weird to think about it this way, but let's say that really did happen, right? 2003, the world goes to shit. Let's say 30 years later, whatever it may be, like the world recovers and society comes back. He needs a gun. He needs to go investigate with his gun.
Anyway. But yeah, society comes back like 30 years later. They find a cure or something.
Yeah, I wanted his opinion on it too, but whatever. Yes, society comes back, and the point that I was getting to is that when things get back on the road and like people start making video games again, the games that got made in our timeline would never get made. You know what I mean? Like
that just wouldn't happen. We would be on completely different. Yeah,
it would diverge, and there'd be completely different games that we never made. And they would never make the games we made.
The tone would be so different for a lot of the video games because they would be with the mindset of a post-apocalyptic creator.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of the best creators would just be actually dead by mathematical statistics, right? Like that would just be Miyamoto. Is that his name? The guy who made like actual Mario.
Shigeru Miyamoto.
Miyamoto. Yeah. So Miyamoto probably would be, realistically, like just statistics, he would probably be dead.
Yep.
Nobuo Uematsu would be dead most likely. Like there's a lot of great composers. Yoko Shimomura, George R. R. Martin. There's just so many things, right?
You're just talking about art not being around. Like that's just art as a whole. Like that. Like
what I was saying, Cheyenne, is something that's cool is let's say 30, 50 years later, whatever it may be, society gets fixed and it gets to the point where people start making video games again, right? What I was saying is that it'd be a whole different timeline because the video games that got made in our timeline in 2030 would never get made in their 2030. Like they would have a whole different timeline of video games that get made.
The graphics would look like fucking GameCube in 2050. It'd be like
not only that,
so far behind.
The iPhone didn't come out until 2006.
2006.
So they never got smartphones really either. Like real smartphones did not exist.
Yeah, they have fucking flip phones. Like that's wild. Like they might not even have it. Fucking Steve Jobs or whatever.
How far along was MySpace? Was MySpace a thing in 03? I'm assuming it was.
I think it was like 2004, 2005.
Yeah, maybe.
Like social media wasn't really.
I forget where MySpace falls in a timeline. Like how big? Because MySpace is the first social media.
Not a thing like that. It may have existed in 2003, but it was not a thing in 2003.
What?
It was more like it was like a little bit after that. It was like maybe like 2005.
What are you talking about?
MySpace. When it just exploded when social media became a thing.
Because I remember in 07 is Facebook. Because I started college in 07. And I got a Facebook almost immediately because my classmates were like, "How do you not have a Facebook?" And they literally made me a Facebook. Like they made it. My Facebook page that I still have to this day was made not by me. It's kind of interesting to think about. But
it's just wild though. Yeah, like so like I'd even consider that. So like social media as we know it would not even be close to
Steve Jobs would be dead 100. Well,
unless he would have just went to like a super fortified whatever.
No.
He'd be dead.
He'd be dead because
he doesn't even believe in medicine. So yeah,
I was about to say he would die from his natural illness, right? Like that would just happen to him.
True.
That would happen regardless. That would just that was always going to happen. So
he died in 2012, I think it was.
Yeah, there's like a level of inevitability. That word is hard to say. Where when it comes to certain people, like I said, I don't think I would say, even if I wanted to survive, right? I think that I just am a naturally sickly kind of person. I have asthma, I have allergies. I just feel like, I just feel like if the world had no medicine, like, I mean, it does have some medicine, clearly, right?
They said my asthma.
Oh, my asthma.
My asthma.
I would just need to have gout. I would need a stockpile of inhalers, and I don't know. They would be so expensive, right? Like
it'd be like, I'll trade you 17 bullets in a fucking canoe for it.
I mean, statistically, everyone's dead. Everybody is dead.
Yeah. Like, realistically, so much of the Earth's population is wiped out.
Bill survives. Bill makes it.
Oh yeah, well, Bill is actually Bill.
Our Bill or both? Well, both
Bill. Our Bill's got a bunker.
Yeah. He's literally Bill from the show. Like I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
The episode was about him.
It's just he's closeted in real life. But not in the show.
Bill survives and he finds Frasier in the hole. Like
that timeline is so wild. And I got my hands up.
Frasier, why don't you teach me something?
And I started playing piano. I started playing on Bill's piano.
Why don't you give me a little of that chocolate? Frasier?
I tell him to go shower. It's been days.
Oh man,
Bill, I'm just gonna decorate a little. We're gonna have friends.
Just a little. Like,
we don't have friends, Frasier. You don't get it. We don't have friends.
You could do that whole episode with Bill and me. Like we could do that entire episode. We could do it in reenactment.
It would just be the weirdest episode.
It'd be so good.
It'd be so good. Oh,
it'd be so goddamn good.
Oh, that's too. All right, anyway, we're off on a rant, but yeah.
It's cool. It's cool when you think about it, though, right? Because and any kid their age does not care about a fucking merry-go or carousel, whatever the fuck it is, the merry-go-round.
Yeah,
but
it's like kind of crazy.
For them, it's like magic.
Like,
well, I don't even know that they necessarily know what it is.
Yeah,
I just
don't know if they know
they've heard of it because she calls it like a magic horse. Like she says, like you got me a magic horse or something. Like I forget what she says, but it's so nuts.
You know what's cool about this show too? And this kind of happened in passing. They were walking in the fields. And this is way earlier on. This is probably like episode 3 with the Bill and Frank thing. I think it was episode 3 in the beginning. They walked past an airplane and she said, "You got to fly in one of those?" And he was like, "Yeah."
Right. Is that episode?
I think 3? I thought it was the Bill, because Bill and Frank has a prequel before it goes to Bill and Frank. There's like a brief part where they're just kind of walking around. I think they even get to this is when she gets her gun. She ends up early. She ends up or not. Yeah, well, she gets her gun this episode, no matter what.
You got to fly around in that fucking thing.
It's cool because Joel doesn't appreciate it. He's kind of talking about how like it doesn't matter, it sucks, and she's like, "You were flying."
But yeah. Joel's like, "Well, you had to wait in line," and like,
and he said they were too. I think he makes a snarky remark about how the people who were in that plane, they were flying too. But like, my thing was, we take a lot of shit for granted. And episode 7 in the mall really showed me how much we take for granted. Like, for example, they make a big deal out of lingerie and how silly it was that people would even waste time wearing and making that
sexy. It's
like, why would somebody do that?
It's not pragmatic. It's not survivalistic. Like, they're used. I saw the GameStop, by the way, but they're used to surviving. And it's like, what the fuck is frilly underwear going to do for what?
Yeah. What's the point of it? Like, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, functionality is the only thing that matters.
It's all form, no function. It's like, what is this shit?
Yes. You know? So I love how certain things in the show, and we just kind of like, I don't think about baseball fields or stuff like that, right? Like, I don't think about that at all. That's not a real important thing to me. We were just in a World Series in Philly, and I still don't think anything of it, right?
I watch a game or two of it. Never watch baseball, but whenever a team makes it to the finals, I always like check it out.
Exactly. But we don't really care about it. Whereas Ellie gets to the football field or the baseball field, and it's a huge deal, not just because it's the baseball field, but also just because of the site and the drafts and stuff like that. But I just think that it is cool seeing the mall episode and how Mortal Kombat 2, you just bought it on a whim. And you bought it on a whim. Yeah. You're like, the game is basically terrible because we're in 2023. And I agree, obviously,
awful, by the way.
I agree, obviously it's 2023, but look at how we're able to just discard an iconic game like that. We have the privilege of doing that. Like, that is a privilege that we can just say like, "Oh, I bought Mortal Kombat 2 on a whim."
If we're in their world, it's like we know all the fucking fatalities if we're playing. Like, I know Scorpion's fatality. It's like,
I'm sneaking into that arcade every night, recycling orders.
Right? Like, holy shit,
that is broke. Also, money doesn't really mean anything the same way. Like, the money that they had in that machine, she said, "I spent all night breaking into this thing," and like, it's a ton of shit, a ton of coins on the ground when it spills out, but it doesn't really mean anything to them. It wouldn't mean anything to us in that world.
It has no value
like
at all.
I Am Legend, when he chases his dog into the building, there's fucking money all over the floor in that building. I remember that. I remember because in the theater, somebody went, "You better get that money." And I was like, well, what the fuck's he gonna spend it on? Slot machines?
I love how like there's people out there that still don't get it. Like, you're watching.
She was like, "You better get that money." I still remember that. It was 2007.
There's one human left.
I've never forgot.
He's the only human.
Wait, who is he gonna give it to? The fucking guy, the mannequin? Frank, here's a 20. It's like, it's a fucking mannequin.
In all of New York, too, mind you. New York has literally one of the biggest populations in the entire country and in the world. And it's like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this money?
I mean, they're like, we think like they have it bad in The Last of Us. There is literally like no one in his fucking world. He is like 0.00001 in like I Am Legend. It really sucks ass.
Yes,
but goddamn.
But I think the culmination of this episode is
our point.
While everything was going well and she was showing off Riley was showing the wonders, it gets to a point where two things happen. One, she explains that she joined the Fireflies. And basically, this is kind of a recruitment tactic in a way because she's leaving tomorrow and today's her last day. So she kind of just drops that on Ellie out of nowhere. And this is an example what Ellie talks about later on. Like, everyone fucking leaves me or dies or both. But in this moment, while they're having this great time, the camera pans away, the music gets really ominous, and it travels down the mall. Whoever did the direction for this part was so creepy to me. This felt like real horror. This felt like a Jordan Peele is his name, I think. This felt like a Jordan Peele scene out of one of his movies because there's something happy. You can hear the kids laughing and playing Mortal Kombat, right? In the distance. And then the camera starts to go. It's like somebody walking around quietly, and they go really far away from the kids. So you're like, okay, well, whatever's happening is not that close. But then you just see an infected, and he kind of comes to life.
Yeah.
It is weird. It's weird how they can have a scary scene. We've already seen the fucking horde. We've seen a bloater. It's like there's different levels of like horror. It's like that's just like fucking
there's just like a
type shit.
There's a level of creepiness.
Yeah, it's like they're kids. They're two little girls. They're not beating a fucking clicker or something. Like,
not only that,
they're just two little girls. They don't.
I have to always remember that these zombies are not some weak, the meat's off the bone kind of zombies. These are actually reinforced tissue.
Yeah, like that. The flower heads. Like,
they're reinforced.
That shit is hard.
Joel shot them multiple times. Tess and Joel shot them multiple times. It does not just kill. Like people think like, oh, just shoot them and you're like, it doesn't work like that.
Flesh, like you're better off kind of shooting their neck and shit like that.
Right. So they're reinforced. They're tough, but even more importantly than that, so it's a man that they show us. That is still a human man's body, muscle mass, flesh, and everything. It's not like zombies in The Walking Dead that are mostly just bones and like, you know,
right.
They're really.
Like we saw what the fuck was her name, Mrs. Sandusky. I don't know.
Oh yes.
Whatever her name was. We saw episode 2. Episode 1. We saw her. She was Miss Sandusky.
Dude, she was like fucking Liu Kang.
She was, yeah. That's true.
We should just say from now on, just compare everybody to various Mortal Kombat characters for the rest of the podcast episode. She was like Liu Kang, man.
She really was though.
She was like doing the kicks, man.
So the guy in the mall, he's fucking like he's Jax.
Yes,
like Jax, man. He's ripped. He's muscly.
Because I saw people saying like, I don't understand how they couldn't just outrun him or they couldn't just do this and that.
Outrun him.
And I was like, you do realize that not only do they have basically infinite stamina, right? Like they just don't have real human stamina. They run way more crazy than we do. They're willing to hurt themselves also,
it's like
which
feral and genetic.
They also like they like leap and shit. Like they're not slow zombies. Like no stretch of the imagination are they like lumbering stupid.
And just
zombies.
imagine a man who's huge jumping at you and attacking you physically. That would be fucking ridiculous to me. And I'm a man. Like if a guy just jumped at another grown man who's probably bigger and taller than me. I'm not very big or tall at all. So if somebody bigger and taller than me lunged at me at any point, infected or not, that's an issue.
Just for record, Frazier is 5'3". So
I am not 5'3".
So he's 5'3". So this thing's probably about 3 feet taller than him.
He's 5'5", but his throat's 6'6".
Oh my god, what is going on? I did not see that coming at all. Not 6'6". Oh, you guys are awful. You guys are literally awful.
Oh, my stomach hurts.
But yes. People are being slow about the whole idea that these two kids couldn't outrun this man and all. They think, I guess that people still just have it in their heads that zombies are slow or something, or that
also outrun him where they were like cornered. They were in a a store.
Yeah,
like they're outrun where? Like where were they running to?
Yeah. Also, Riley sucked at shooting, which I just went to the gun range for the first time like 2 weeks ago, and shooting is not the easiest thing, but imagine doing it under stress. So when I went to the gun range, I was under no stress to actually fire my weapon. I was able to just sit there as long as I wanted to. In fact, the instructor even told me, you're thinking about it too much. I need you to shoot a bit faster. Like your pace is slow. And that's just because I'm overthinking it. Imagine something actually running at you and that you're also afraid, right? Like you're actually terrified. So there's a lot of factors in play here, and it's a moving target. I didn't shoot anything moving yet.
So they had that Mortal Kombat energy. They were just doing fatalities and shit, so they're gonna be amped up. That's for me at least. If I got that Mortal Kombat energy, I might miss my shot.
Also, weren't they like on top of the counter of a jewelry store or something like that?
Dude, they had like these masks on that horrible line of sight. Like the mask that you have on, they can't see out of those masks. They were like dancing on top of a counter, which was a really sweet scene. Like the music they were listening to and them dancing together.
So this episode, by the way, this came out after the game. This was DLC. This was like a bonus thing that is really fucking cool. It's just a bonus because at the very end of season 1, she says to Joel, "I had a friend named Riley," and blah blah blah. And you're like, "What the fuck is she talking about right now? You don't know what any of that is." And then Left Behind came out, which is the name of that DLC,
right?
And so, and basically, it's like beat for beat, pretty much like the game. But the one thing that so they don't play Mortal Kombat. What they actually do is she tells Ellie, I think, to close her eyes, and she like narrates it to Ellie, and so you like see like an invisible video game, and it's like cool as fuck. And like
the games are like broken.
Yeah, it's like the games are broken or something. So it's like,
oh wow,
it's like a whole little imagination, like the imagination of a child sort of deal.
That's really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, but at the end of it, essentially what happens is they get attacked. They both get infected theoretically, but only Riley is the real one to lose her mind. But they don't actually show the resolution of it in this episode. They don't show what Ellie does to Riley. We kind of just have to assume. And then in episode 9, right before they get to wherever they're going in episode 9, Wyoming, I think it was, that's when she finally breaks down and tells him, she says, "Look, remember a while ago I told you that wasn't the first infected I killed. I had a friend named Riley, and we were both planning to lose our minds together, but only one of us did.
Yep.
And I did what I had to do." She doesn't even say it there, but like you get the idea. Like, I killed my best friend. And I thought that they were going to do a quick flashback where they actually show her like fighting Riley off or something like that, or actually shooting her or whatever. But I guess that just wasn't necessary. I kind of wanted to see it just because I don't know. It would have been gut wrenching. But
yeah.
But they don't show
the same issue with the Cowboy Bebop show, like where it's starting to get to the point where it's all merging together, and I'm starting to lose track of what continuity and in what world. Like, I can't remember in the game. I think her first kill would have been the guy that stabs Joel with the baseball bat, except it would have been different. Like, he was holding Joel in a puddle, and it wasn't the guy in the when they crashed the cars, but it was like in the college, Joel gets held in a puddle. I think Ellie shoots that guy, and so I think in the game, I can't remember.
Does she save him in episode 4 from somebody beating his ass after the car crashes in Kansas City?
No, not in the game.
She doesn't shoot some guy in the back?
No, she does in the show, but not in the game. No.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's the one scene where I think it's a little bit better in the game, but I get why it's not like that, because it's like,
you know, that's when you told me they had the bus as a
yeah. Did you watch it yet?
I did not. They had a bus as a ram, a battering ram.
It's fucking awesome.
Well, now the show was officially over, I'll watch it. I didn't want to watch it while the show was airing now.
Yeah, you didn't want to
because I don't want to. I didn't want to taint like my. Yeah.
It's like you should watch the whole scene because it's actually interesting. Like the whole porn magazine and everything. It's like, how do you walk around with that thing?
I actually watched a side by side comparison of that scene, and it's basically verbatim. Like,
it's fucking great. And I've thought that when I've seen you naked, like, how does he walk around?
Okay. Anyway. So yeah, that's the end of episode 7. And now here's where the real meat and potatoes comes in. No pun intended. Episode 8.
By the way, I called all of this like instant. You can ask Cheyenne.
So
I called so much of it so fast.
So hold on, Cheyenne.
Fraser said he did too.
Yeah, I messaged Cheyenne as the episode was airing. I messaged you while it was airing.
Damn it. I wish that you waited just a little bit because we didn't see it by that point.
I didn't even think about it.
He was like, "This guy, fucks kids."
I said, "This guy is a kid fucker." Instant, like literally, the episode came on. It was like, "Oh, kid fucker!" Instantly, like it was the HBO thing. I was like, "This guy's a kid fucker."
It sucks. Like, this is the one time. Like, well, there's been a few times, but I fucking wish I was you guys because I really wish I knew what I would have thought because there's no way to know. Like, when I first saw it, it's like, as Stone Cold Steve Austin says, DTA, don't trust anybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't trust anybody.
Right.
But it's like that. So what they do in the game is she meets David and you're trying to keep warm. And actually, as you do that, there is like, it's like a little wave defense. It's actually, I think it's the hardest part in the game. And you have to fight I think you might have to fight a fucking bloater. Like, it's so difficult. So I was like, maybe he's all right. And James.
Oh, he helps you? Wait, you got to give me more context on what happens.
So they basically,
is she hunting a deer like she is in the show?
No,
because remember she's okay. Let me before you go into the game. Think about the game while I speak for a second. I want to just do a little recap of what's happening in the beginning of episode 8. In the beginning of episode 8, Joel is still fucked, right? Like he's still basically dying, and she's hunting. She's hunting a deer, and she's actually doing a really good job. She shoots it, but it gets to walk away, and as it's walking away, it's bleeding all over the place. So she follows it, and eventually, she runs into these two men. And she gets the drop on them because they have her kill. Essentially, they're about to take it back to wherever the fuck they came from. She gets the drop on them, tells them to drop their weapons, step away from their weapons. She unloads their weapons, which I thought was amazing. Like the way she's handling these two grown ass adults, I was like, holy shit, like she's doing a fantastic job. But anyway, she gets to the deer, makes them back up, and then they realize, obviously, you're a little kid. You can't possibly haul that back to wherever the fuck you plan to take it back to by yourself. So they start to slowly talk to her. And one of them is like trying to get the okay to do something sneaky and kill her, I would say. Like, that's what he's thinking. And the other one is like, no, chill out. Actually, go get the penicillin like she asked. Because she says, she says we can he says we can trade. He basically wants to trade Ellie for like the deer. I can give you something. We have food. I don't think he says food, but he says we have this, that, and the third. We have shelter. We have all this other stuff, right? Because they have
David
food, but it's
sees
not
this young girl and he's feeling a little ornery. You know what I mean?
He's feeling real ornery. Let me just say this real quick. I got annoyed at the part where he kind of reveals his motives. This girl, I feel so ornery right now.
I can't stand
man, he's feeling ornery.
Oh boy. But dude, when he goes to her, when he like reveals, he ends up revealing like, oh, we had some guys go back and like one of our guys died, and like he got killed by a crazy man and a girl. I got so annoyed because they try to make it sound like Joel attacked them.
Yeah, they didn't try to jump him.
Because he said it like that. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. I was like,
I did.
I literally, I'm an idiot.
Instantly. Instantly, I was like,
who is he talking about? And you were like, remember like the baseball bat guy? And I was like, yeah. He made it seem like they
didn't go attack them.
Yeah, and so I was so confused. It completely threw me for a loop.
Like they weren't looking for food.
I played the game.
Like they didn't see two people and say food.
Those guys actually, I'm pretty sure they're not connected to David in the game. The guys that,
like they didn't see two human beings and think food immediately.
They were in the meat market. They're like, we're going to take these kids back.
They were like, oh, a fresh meat, like
fresh cut, boys.
So as Ellie's talking to them, they basically get to a point where she says, "You got medicine?" And this is their in. So at this point, David's, he's really slick. He knows what he's doing. He's raped a couple kids in his lifetime, so he knows how this goes. He goes,
he's part of the church.
He goes, we got
clergyman.
Yes, he's a priest, right? He's a father of priest, which, that's the synonymous for rapist. So anyway, he goes, we got penicillin back here. We got penicillin. And the guy who's next to him, I forget his name, but he actually plays Joel in the actual video game.
Troy Baker is the voice actor.
He does.
The second I saw him, I lost my goddamn mind. Right. Same with and episode 9, real quick, not to jump off. But Ellie's mom is Ashley Johnson, which is the voice actress.
She's also just an incredible voice actor in general. She's also part of if any nerds out there know about Critical Role, which is a D&D thing. She's part of Critical Role with Matt Mercer and them. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, like she sounds just like Ellie though, and it was fucking me up. I was like, holy shit, it's she's doing Ellie's voice right now, though. I thought somebody
also, I guess, like, spoilers for jumping ahead. I don't know why. I don't know if it was something with the makeup or whatever. But when I saw her at the start of that episode, I pretty much instantly thought that was Ellie's mom.
Me too.
Because she kind of looks like Ellie.
She looks like actual Ellie. She looks like the actor that plays Ellie.
And those two actors aren't related at all. Whatever they ended up doing, like in the light of the show, I was like, oh my God, she looks just like Ellie.
The main thing they did is the hair, right? They pulled the hair back and they gave her the exact same hairstyle as Ellie. So that really, that made me know who she was when I saw her. First of all, she's pregnant and she's running away. I was like, okay, maybe this is Ellie's mom. And then when it got to the point where I saw where it was going, I said, that's definitely Ellie's mom. And then she just said, Ellie when the baby was born.
For half a second, so the very start of the episode, half a second, I thought it was a time skip, and I thought that was Ellie. I was like, "What the fuck happened?" But then, my mind reeled back. I was like, "That's Ellie's mom."
Right.
But for a split second, I thought it was Ellie, and I was like, "I don't know where this is going."
I would have been so mad if that was actually a time skip and that was Ellie.
They only really mention her. My bad, Fraser. What'd you say? I spoke over.
No, I would have just been like, if that was Ellie, like if that was a time skip and that was Ellie, I would have said this is one of the worst shows I've seen in a long time. It's just a terrible show.
Big time skips like that are fucking wild. Like
with a plot twist like that, how the fuck did she get pregnant? Yeah, I know Dykes get pregnant all the time, but like,
real quick, I don't think that was a video baby. I think they put a real baby on that dirty ass.
It was
floor.
No, it was a real baby.
Crusty ass.
Did you watch the after the episode thing?
I think I might have seen it on YouTube. Maybe they uploaded it.
So in the after the episode thing for episode 9. She said we were working with real children that day, which are very difficult, but we ended up catching the baby on a good day. But that is a real baby in those scenes.
I've never seen such a fresh baby though.
It's so difficult to work with real children.
Man. No, but you ever watch a fucking movie and somebody will give birth to a baby and it's like a fucking 1-year-old? It's like that big ass baby. That's not even a fucking baby. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Even worse than that, though.
Every single movie you ever see where there's like a brand new baby, it's huge. It's huge. It's like that's not.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like they delivered the baby in a hospital. It's like get that baby on set.
It does look like a baby was freshly delivered and they put it on set.
Yeah,
like not even joking.
Get that baby on set. That's the last of this baby.
Don't know how they did that because they said it was a real baby, which I have no reason to believe that it wasn't. It didn't look like it was CG at all.
Video baby, yeah.
But what's freaky is that the baby was like a newborn. The baby was like an actual newborn.
They had that baby ready, man. They're like, get that baby on set right now. It's warm.
Dude, they got one of the ladies that worked on the show. They were like, okay, all right, when we're about 9 months out of the recording this episode, we got to get you pregnant. All right, 9 months out, you're delivering.
So what you're gonna do, hon? You're gonna queef that thing out on set. And we're gonna roll. We're just gonna roll them.
Just gonna roll. Just gonna roll.
You're gonna fight off Hank. You're gonna fight off Hank. Hank is gonna attack you. Here's Hank.
The baby's going to be scared. It could resurface in therapy. It's going to be some traumatic shit. But fuck it, we're rolling. Like, all right,
we're going for realism today. Yeah. The key word of the day is realism.
Like they had an umbilical cord on the baby. Yeah, so that's another thing. We got to talk about that. So that's
hold on, wait.
We're still episode 8 though. Hold on.
Yeah. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to episode 8.
So we got off the Troy Baker.
Like Frasier, basically at the start of the episode, so I'm watching it with a group of like 5-6 people, and frame 1, I type into the group chat, I go, that guy's a child molester, and Cheyenne responds with Jesus, Kenny, and he's like trying to play it off like I'm wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about. And like a few scenes later, he's talking, and I'm like, no, he's a kid fucker. Guys like that are always kid fuckers.
Yes.
I think I did it as best as I could, right, Kenny? Like I didn't really have much to go on, but I was like,
then
relax.
You can't defend it too hard because then if you defend it too hard, then it's obvious.
I didn't do that either. I was like,
then there's the scene where they're like preparing the food, and the lady says, "What is that?" And the guy says, "It's deer." And I type in chat, "That's human." Like I go, I think they're eating people.
Oh,
and then I think Cheyenne said like, dude, there's no way or something like that. Like, let me clarify. Or no, somebody said, stop asking questions. I was like, let me clarify. I'm not asking shit.
Yes, I'm declaring.
I was like, Kenny, stop asking these random.
The one girl who's
trying to make Kenny seem like it is crazy.
The daughter of the guy that got killed by Joel literally was like, "Hey, when's my dad going to be buried?" And they were like, "Oh, we're going to bury him in a couple days. No worry."
Makes sense though. The ground's hard. What are you gonna dig in the fucking?
Yeah, the ground's hard right now. We're gonna bury him in a couple days. And I was like, "Oh, not this, not South Park with the fucking Cartman episode."
They just spent too much time on the meat. It was like
they did spend a lot of time on the meat. And they showed everyone eating it too. Like,
yep.
It's not important to show everyone eating food.
I know more than these guys know at the moment, but it's pretty obvious like what they're letting on that like this is not good meat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd eat a human. Fuck it.
I mean, you probably have to, right? They were starving. That was the whole thing. They were literally starving.
So, like another thing, like I think they're just basically like hunters in the game. Like it's a little more like sinister in the game. Like I don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I don't think they do it because it's like dead people. It's like they do it because fuck it, like let's kill people and hunt them as well.
Oh, see that
Like,
they were doing it for what seemed to
Yeah, it
be
was like-
survival.
Because once again,
Yeah,
though,
in the show, it was
would've been
definitely for survival.
could have been cartoony if they did it that way. And wow, looking at Joel's wound, did you guys notice there's a little layer of yellow pus on top? I was like, oh,
Yeah, that's
whoa.
Ellie kind of calls attention to that, and that's one of the because she needs to go get medicine.
Right.
That penicillin tray sounded really,
you know when
really
you see
good.
yellow shit coming out of your body that's not piss. You're like,
yeah, it's
not doing
bad.
good.
It's always bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
bad. Like you don't want to see yellow fucking.
Okay, but let's back up a bit. So there is that scene where Troy Baker goes to get the penicillin, and Ellie has the gun on Dave, and they're just talking. He's explaining how he used to be. He said he didn't find God until after the apocalypse, which is a very weird thing to be like. I wasn't religious, and then after the apocalypse, I became religious. Like, how the fuck did that happen? Anyway, he's trying to. My thing with him is that as he's speaking, I'm noticing that he's entirely too interested in this little girl. I don't care what you say. There is no grown man who is as interested in a little girl as David was. Okay. There is something very weird about his.
You and me are so similar.
People that I know.
We're so similar, Ellie.
Yes. He kept doing stuff like that.
He's like, I see myself inside you.
He did say that. He just said a lot of weird things that he kept trying to compare himself to her. Like, I see a lot of myself in you, and
it was like things that like older people don't compare themselves to younger people. Like, I think we have the same intelligence,
right?
Like,
he definitely did try to do the whole like you're an old soul.
Yeah, you're an old soul. Yeah, that kind of shit. I feel like I've known you my whole life.
You're wise beyond your years.
And then what really sealed it for me, though, is when Troy Baker comes back with the penicillin and he has the gun drop on Ellie, which is the whole plan from the beginning. He comes back, he sneak attacks her. So now she still has the gun pointed at David. And they get into like a little thing where he says, we're not going to harm this girl. And that's when I really knew. I was like, okay, you want to bring her back so fucking bad. Like, the amount of interest you have in this girl is absurd. Also, you know that this girl is not technically alone, right? Like, she's not actually alone. She does have adult supervision, whether he's incapacitated or whatever. You know that she's not completely alone, but you're trying to get her away from him and lure her back to wherever the hell you came from. The whole thing seemed sinister to me from the gate. And then him being a father, and she kind of said like, it's like a cult or whatever. He's like, yeah, they followed me. They kind of made me their leader or whatever. And then they show a scene where like he smacks the shit out of some young girl.
Oh, he smacked the shit out of her.
I mean, he hit her so fucking hard.
Him young. You got to discipline him, keep him in line for the Lord. You know.
I think before the apocalypse happened, he was an R. Kelly fan. Like, he took notes.
You know what I wonder though? I haven't watched the episode more than once.
Hog tie people.
I want to hog tie. I want to go back to episode 8 specifically and watch it from the beginning, because something I did not really notice was I assumed that he was also molesting that girl that he slapped like that.
I think so. I think so too.
Probably was.
I want to go back and watch the interactions between, because there's multiple interactions that those two have. I want to go back and look at the way he looks at her. I want to go back and look at the way she looks at him. I want to look at the way when he slaps her, and how, like, I want to go back and just
happy in that whole encounter.
They're not
a single moment of happiness. It's just, oh God, just let this be over.
Yes.
Like, for people watching, freaky. For her.
Because I assume that there's other hints that I wasn't really privy to, because I just knew that he wanted Ellie bad. And eventually, he gets Ellie back to their place.
Maybe people get too close to their characters or whatever, but there was a video I saw and I was like, whoa.
Oh,
so
no.
I think maybe it was the guy who, I can't remember if it was, whatever the fuck his name is, Nolan North or something like that. Or the actor who played him in the show, David. And it was basically like Ashley Johnson, the voice actress of Ellie. They were talking about like that guy's motivations, and they didn't want to say he was a pedophile, except Ashley Johnson was the only one like, I think he really liked kids. And they're like, well, no, maybe it was like more fatherly. And I was like, and these are the people that played the characters. It was the guy who played David. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And like, they really underplayed it. And I was like, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck kids. Like, where is this going? Like,
that person exists in
Sometimes
real
you
life.
play a character that's really bad.
That guy exists in real life right now. Like, it's not like he's a result of the apocalypse, right? Like, that guy was always like that. He even said,
yeah, exactly,
I sense violence in you, a great violence in you, and I know because I have that same violence in me.
Like, sure, you always have a Batman origin story.
What's crazy,
but I don't think he's a Batman origin story. I think
what's crazy is that before the apocalypse,
he was a teacher.
He was, and he fucked his students. You know what I mean? Like, he's like a serial rapist. Like,
that tidbit about him being a school teacher, I was like, no, this guy is the worst kind of person.
Dude, he literally went from school teacher to fucking priest, like the two highest concentrations of kid fuckers. Like,
what do you guys think? What he taught is like social studies, or
I think he said he taught math or some shit.
He taught biology.
Jumping jacks, everybody.
He definitely taught physical ed.
He taught anatomy.
Yes,
the hairs will start growing in down there. Called puberty.
Not this. Anyway. So yeah, he was a creep. I mean, the reason why we're making so many jokes about this, because it is an unsightly thing to talk about. But like, it is
unsightly, yeah. But also, like,
it's real.
They did a good job at just the way the whole episode was directed. Like, they did do a good job.
Because it wasn't until the 9th hour where you finally get the reveal that all your suspicions about him are 100% true. So I don't remember this because, again, I only saw this episode once, and I was so focused on the end of the episode more than anything else. But how did they get Ellie back to? Did they knock her unconscious? Because she was in a cage. Like, I remember her being in a cage.
Right.
I think they did knock her out.
I forget if she woke up in a cage is what I'm asking.
Yeah, she did, because I'm pretty sure she woke up groggy. Like, she woke up kind of like,
like where the fuck am I? I can't remember how they actually got her back. Because I don't feel like she would have went with them.
Because the dude? That's right. The dude. Oh, she was on the horse. He shot the horse, and she flew off the front of the horse.
That's
even when he shot the horse, James was like, "Holy fuck." It felt like some shit you see in a fucking medieval movie.
She was knocked out because she hit the ground after falling off a horse, and she was like knocked out. And then she walked up, and so the other guys were like, "Just kill her!" Like, before David gets back, they were like, "Just kill her." And then Dave shows up, and he's like, makes them stop. But he was going to kill her kind of behind Dave's back.
And that's when he says,
"She's lucky
go
there was
house
snow
to
on the
house."
ground because
she hit hard as shit.
That horse.
Yeah. Also, that scene where he shoots that horse, that scene was amazing.
Yeah, like that, cool.
That part, I literally said out loud, mind you, I watched the episode by myself with the volume on basically max. When he shot that horse and she fell off of it, out loud and very loud, I said, "Oh shit!" Yeah. It was one of those moments for me because I just wasn't expecting that at all. Like, that caught me completely off guard.
Fire his gun, Troy Baker.
Yeah, did you see the after the episode thing?
Down, dude.
They showed that scene, how they actually made that scene, like the fake horse and everything.
Oh, right. I think I saw a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's like a mechanical horse. They actually, it's really cool how, because when you watch the episode, it looks so well done. It looks like a real horse and everything.
It looks real. But he's even shocked by his shot because he didn't hit her. He hit the horse. And he's like, oh, fuck. Because, like, he just shot a horse. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Like, he doesn't want to fuck. I don't think James really wants to do any of this shit.
Well,
I think he could have been a normal guy. If he was on the other side of this, I think he would have probably been fine. But he ended up with this group. At least my interpretation of it.
No, you got the right interpretation.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I don't think he wants to do any of this. He's like,
the first time you see him talking to Dave, he has a similar conversation of what you're saying, where he's saying a lot of the others are starting to lose faith. And then I think that at one point he alludes to he's also lost faith in this whole thing.
Yep.
Like, they need to just kill David flat out. And he probably would have died. They probably would have killed him off eventually. Then, like, this guy's a fucking
it's hard. The thing is, though, when people like that get in power, like, once you become a cult leader, it's like really hard to overthrow them because they end up, even if they're weaker than other people in the group, they end up holding like a mental lock over so many people.
They might be resourceful in ways that other people aren't. They're probably smart tacticians or whatever the fuck it is.
Well, I think what Kenny and you are saying is correct, because you think about Kathleen. I thought one of the weirdest things about Kathleen's whole arc is that the guy who was the militaristic dude who always had the AK-47 on his body, he was taking all the orders from her no matter how condescending she was talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like
just talking to him like he's a fucking child.
And that's always been true throughout history. Basically, if you look at Hitler is not some fucking brawny 6'5" muscle.
Hitler's definitely not the ideal race guy that he was talking about.
They always say like, oh, he wants like blonde hair, blue eyes. I didn't know this until like I've been watching a fuckload of World War II documentaries and Holocaust documentaries and shit. He actually had blue eyes. I didn't know that. I always thought he had brown eyes. But,
well, he doesn't have blonde hair.
I heard that he wasn't what he. I heard that he wasn't the pure race that he wanted.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
But yeah, it's interesting how you get these people, and so Kenny says something like hit it right on the nose. They have a mental lock on you, and I think that this goes back to, and I'm going to allude it to this as well. But like you think about slavery and plantation owners, same thing. There are hundreds of slaves, but they all are afraid and listening to this one person. And it's not a physical thing, because obviously any of the slaves, really, any of the grown men slaves could just beat the shit out of a slave owner. But it's the mental prison that you put people in.
Nobody wants to be the first man in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First man in is always going to get it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like there's always the guy who has to start it, and that guy's just it's not going to be good for him. But like,
because then what happens when you kill David, right? What happens after that? Like, do you assume that because you killed him, you take over? No, the other people are like, well, I always wanted the position too. So now you're vying.
Yeah, it causes like mutiny.
I think they were just beaten people. But they were not a strong people. They were beaten down.
There's probably people that feel like we could kill David, right? There's probably somebody that's like, I could just kill this guy, right? He fucking slapped my daughter. I could kill him. But then he's like, if I kill him, who will lead us? Like he's the one that keeps control. Like
also, we can't discredit the. I was gonna say also we can't discredit the idea that he uses religion as a weapon. That is, when I tell you that shit,
it's powerful.
You just mean he uses religion. That's what you meant to say.
Yeah, like that's. Wait, what did I say?
You said he uses it as a weapon, so I said, "Oh, you just mean he just uses."
Oh yeah. But yes, like religion is such a powerful mental hold on people's lives. Like it has such a one of the strongest ways to control someone's mind is through religion, and that part I think is a big reason why they made him into this cult leader who happens to be a father/priest, is because how else would he literally control all these people, right? Like there's nothing remarkable about him, really.
Yeah.
It's the promise of cool shit, right? It's like, if you do this, you're going to get some cool shit. Follow me. God's going to give us a bunch of cool shit.
And they can always give you an answer for everything that goes wrong. So when they're starving,
God didn't will it. God willed this.
Yeah. Like when they're starving, he has an answer for why they're starving. And like, we're just fasting, right? We're just going through a tough time right now.
It's not a bountiful hunt for the Lord did not provide.
But he's going to deliver us from all of this. And it's just like a lot of that kind of talk.
So Jesus-y shit. Yeah.
There's an answer for everything when it comes to religion. Like you can literally, no matter how bad a situation is, you can always explain it away with some scripture.
I'd be going the fuck in, dude. I'd be like, and the Lord did not provide. I'd be going like all in, dude. And like I'd be so crazy with that people would just follow me because like, oh my God, he's
I could
wired in.
I could completely. You're unhinged. So.
And he'd be like,
provide the food.
And bring me that little girl over there.
And bring me the youngest of the flock.
I need to import the Lord younger. Remember the guy from Game of Thrones? Remember the guy from Game of Thrones? Younger. Younger.
Too old.
God.
He goes too old. They bring in another girl too old.
They brought him a fetus and he literally was like too old.
He's like, just right. Like he was like the fucking.
God, I don't.
He didn't stop until they gave him an abortion. Like they had to literally give him a fucking abortion. And he was like, just right.
No, one of the quotes, one of my favorite quotes, I don't remember that, but one of my favorite quotes is when I think Reek is going to be raped and the guy goes, I'm gonna fuck you into the dirt.
Yeah, I remember that. He did say that.
Quote.
Yeah, he starts unbuckling his pants.
My memory is so bad. He's like, I'm gonna fuck you into the dirt. And he's just it's like, oh man. He's gonna fuck him into the dirt.
George R. R. Martin is insane because that line is verbatim from Game of Thrones, and there's no reason for it. Like, there's no reason he had to say that.
Oh, he says it in the book? That guy says it in the book?
I don't remember that part in the book. I don't think that's in the book. But
get on the ground, I'm gonna fuck you into the dirt. It's like, oh, it's so great.
What's crazy is he starts unbuckling his pants.
That's what. Yeah, that's what Pastor Dave was on.
That guy starts to take down his britches.
He was going to fuck him into the dirt. He wasn't lying. That man's getting fucked into the dirt. That's just all there was to it. but it's one of the best quotes. Like there's just so many good moments
shit.
like that. Like there's one thing where like another quote, it's just irrelevant, where Arya, like she's trying to barter and she's like, how about a big fat pigeon? She's like, and the guy's like, fuck off. Yeah, orphan, or like whatever. Just,
yeah.
How about a big fat pigeon?
Oh, you're too much. Game of Thrones. Yeah. Anyway,
fuck off.
So yeah, they get her back. So I forgot, but she does end up getting knocked unconscious from falling off a horse. She wakes up. She's in a cage, and now her and David are having a nice one-on-one, which is what he wanted the whole time. But now he's in power because she's in a cage and not pointing a fucking weapon at him. And
you know what's interesting? Maybe it's just instinctual. I don't know. We did say she's a pretty smart girl.
Yeah,
it's interesting how quickly she caught on that he was a pervert.
Yeah,
because she starts playing him.
She does. She realizes what he wants. This is what I mean by Ellie, yo. She's so fucking smart. And you wouldn't think that someone her age or what you think is her lack of experience would even understand what a pedophile or how they operate. Because in theory, the reason why pedophiles are able to get away with what they get away with most of the time is because they're adults with a shit ton of experience and a bit more intelligence than a developing kid. So they usually can just do what they want with impunity with just a little coercion, which is what he's working on. But she picks up, like you said, she picks up on that shit so fast. Okay.
She starts like getting closer to the cage and she like puts her hands out to like let him touch her.
Like scared out of her mind.
She starts like, she is, but the way she starts like goading him in is like,
smart. She's manipulating him.
It's very impressive.
But also it's like, you get to see like her edge. It's like, even though she's in a cage, she's like a fucking animal, man.
She is.
Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
And shit.
He keeps asking her name and she won't tell him her name. And then finally, when she like breaks his finger and tries to get the keys.
And my name's Ellie, motherfucker.
She's like, tell the fuckers, like tell them Ellie did that to your face or something. She like fucks him up. She's like, tell them Ellie did that. I was like, oh shit.
And what I like, you said this, Cheyenne, a second ago, but I like that the whole time she's actually afraid. Okay. This entire, while this is happening, she's actually freaked the fuck out. And at some point they come back. She also knows that they're killing people, right? Like she knows that they're chopping up people. And
she sees like a finger on the ground, like near a drain or something.
Right.
And I think that she says, are you going to chop me up into little bits? And he said, I would like not to.
Yeah.
Like, how is that
out and about with it?
Yeah, like, how is that your response? He's like, the reason
I would like not to.
Yeah, because he says, I would like not to.
He wants a young bride that'll bear him the fruit of his labors, and he wants 7 kids by Ellie.
He also says, I'm telling you this because you're strong enough to handle it. A lot of the people don't know what we're doing here as far as eating people. Yeah. He's like, a lot of people don't know because they're not strong, but you're really strong. You're really smart.
Oh, you're so strong and intelligent. That grooming.
Yep, literally R. Kellying her.
Catholic-esque grooming.
But then it gets to a point. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say something.
The Pope would be proud.
Oh yeah, the Pope is the head of the church. He would absolutely be proud.
Like he'd up him to like an archbishop or something. You know what I mean?
Just like I told him.
It gets to a point where he gets frustrated, obviously, after she attacks him. So he goes to get Troy Baker, and they open up the cage. She's like, no, and they put her on a fucking cutting table, I guess. Yeah, and they're about to butcher her. I guess that's literally what they're about to do. And as they're about to do it, she says that she is infected. And this was one of the smartest things that I did not see coming. When I tell you, I had no idea.
I didn't know this was going to happen either.
I didn't know this was coming at all. When she said that, I said, oh, that's fucking brilliant, because she harmed David. She like physically harmed him, and he's bleeding, I think, too, right? Like David's bleeding. Yeah. So when she says that, it causes Troy to kind of look at David in a certain way. He was like, motherfucker, do not look at me like I am now infected. She's like, look at my arm. And they look at it. He's like, it looks fucking real to me.
Yeah, because David says like, there's no way she would have turned already. Right. And Troy's like, it looks real to me. And then like,
it looks exactly like any other cordyceps bite.
What the fuck is going on?
Right.
And it instantly causes division, gives her enough time to grab that machete.
Oh, yeah. She cuts the
butcher
Joel
knife, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. It's a bummer. Because, there's even I think you guys probably felt the same way. You probably liked James. I found him to be likable. He had a lot of regret.
I don't like James.
I liked him.
Nah.
I
because you follow orders.
Sympathized.
Nah. You're basically
I mean,
asking
don't
if
get me
I
wrong,
like.
he's still a nut. He's still a nut.
You're
because he
basically
followed
asking if I
orders.
like Hitler's top general. Like, no.
Yeah, I
the
know
answer
what
is
you
no.
mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, man. I just think if it's like,
I just think you like the actor.
circumstances, maybe you're
Yeah.
right. Maybe you're right. But I think under different circumstances, I think he could have been a good guy.
I'm glad you see the good in
guy.
people, but if you follow orders, so this is how I feel about cops too in real life. If you know that there are shitty cops and you work in the same police force and you guys have that blue veil and everything, right? And you see a cop killing someone or planting drugs on someone, or the cop just gives you an order and you know it's wrong, right? You even have conversations with the boss where you're like, yeah, I don't know about this, and you still follow through with it though. You are just as fucking bad. Like, you are no better than the actual person giving the order because you followed it, but you didn't want to do it. Like, if you still go ahead and do it, despite the fact that you know it's wrong, you are also a shitty cop. Like, you're not a good cop because you fucking didn't want to do it, but you did it because it's your job. Like, no, you're a shitty cop too. Like, you're a shitty person too. And that's kind of how I feel about him. Like, I have no sympathy for what happened to that guy. You were down with,
Yeah.
you were down
He
with
got
the cutting up the people
You're
and all
swaying
that.
me. I'm an easily swayed man.
I'm an easily
Well, I
swayed
think that
swaying
what
me a
Kenny
little
said
bit.
has some truth to it. I think that you're more so, you like what he represents, which is the real
Yeah, you like the actor.
Joel.
You think it's cool that, yeah.
Right, but his actual character, I don't think there's anything redeemable about his actual character. He was about to chop that fucking girl up on that table right there. Like, that was going to happen.
Well, yeah, I know. Fuck. Like,
He was.
Like, I mean, he was gonna go through with the big chop. If you go,
He was
through
about to
with the big
chop
chop,
that
it's
girl
like,
into pieces
yeah,
and
little
feed her to
girl.
people.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're
And
right.
only
I'm swayed.
because
I
only
changed
going
my
to
tune.
chop
I
her up
changed
and
my tune.
feed her to people because his boss didn't get the fucker. Like,
Yeah,
if his boss
literally
didn't get
that.
the
Literally
alternative
that.
to not chopping her up was letting his boss
There's
fuck her.
still this little part of my brain that almost feels like he wasn't going to go through with the big chop.
Nah, he had the
I
fucking
know he
machete
was
in his
going
hand.
to. I know he's going to, but
Yeah.
there's just that little part of my brain that goes, maybe he would have somehow not done that. But it's like, he hasn't done that. Come
So
on.
at the same time, on my Hunter x Hunter shit right now, at the same time, the camera transitions over to Joel,
Big Joel.
and Ellie said that if somebody comes for you, I want you to fucking kill him. That was the last thing she said before she left, and she gave him the penicillin.
Man.
She said, I don't know where the fuck to put this, Joel. So she injects him with the penicillin in a random spot, which she actually did it in the right, she did it in the right place. She injects him with the penicillin, and she gives him a knife. Does she give him a knife or a gun? I think she gives him a knife.
Wait, did
She gives him a
she
knife.
do it in the right place? Because I'm no penicillin doctor. I don't know how that.
Well,
shit
it worked. It fucking worked.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Right.
But she gives it to him, and later on, David gave the order earlier in the episode to go house to house and find Joel and kill him. So they're going house to house, and one of the guys ends up finding him, and Joel murks this guy so fucking HBO like. This is where I love
it.
I love that HBO's in control of the show, because I feel like you just would not get this gory brutality that you get in episodes.
So pussified,
Eight and nine for me were quintessential HBO episodes. I could tell if somebody said watch this show. If somebody said watch this show and tell me what channel do you think this show aired on, I would say HBO, no question, because of how brutal shit gets. 8 and 9. So
and the guy he killed, by the way, had a big fat smile on his face. I was like, "Ooh, that was fucking freaky." He's like, and there's blood coming through his teeth, and like, yeah, man, it's fucking.
He goes on a fucking killing spree. The one part he has the two guys tied
get
up.
To see like OG Joel, like back in the day, like. Dude, when he gets like the two guys, remember he gets the two guys.
Yes, when he has them tied up, and the one guy he asked him a question. He's like, "I want you to point on this map where Ellie is," and then the guy back there, he better do the exact same thing. So the guy's like,
I think that's the most brutal moment of Joel so far.
Oh,
in the show up to that
I
moment.
fucking love this part.
Same.
The guy
He fucking
gets,
stabs him in the kneecap.
Yo,
I will
he's like,
pop
your fucking kneecap.
Yeah.
bro, the way he was talking to him, I was like, yo, okay. I wasn't ready for this side of him. The way he was talking to this man, I said, oh, he's done this before. Like,
Yeah. It's not his first fucking rodeo.
Not at all.
And
He's
I didn't
done
know.
this
I didn't know.
17,000 times.
I didn't know that this was like the side of Joel that we didn't get to see before, that everyone was alluding to. But when you see it here, when he says, "I'll pop your fucking kneecap out next," and then the guy says something else. He says, "I don't have time for this." Pow! And just fucking
And
shoots
kills
him.
him. And then the other guy's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm not telling you shit now."
Said,
and he goes,
worry.
"It's fucking, I believe him."
Yes,
And then kills
pow!
him.
I was like, Bro, when I tell you I lost my shit at that moment, because I was so at that point, I was so fucking happy. I was like, oh my God, yes. Joel, get them. Fucking get all of them. These fucking pedophile cannibals, get them.
It's so good, man.
He destroyed them.
And then he went Italian old school. I'll pop your fucking kneecap off.
He
really did, dude. And then to go back to the Ellie thing, though, because Ellie's escaping now. Fucking Dave was so horny. He's in a building that Ellie lights on fire, and he's like, that fire is just a good backdrop.
Oh, it's the fire of her heart.
Like, he just, the place is on fire, and he, like, looks at it, and you can tell, you can see it in his face in the acting that, like, his brain goes, I should put that fire out. But then he's, like, goes right back to Ellie. Like, he looks at the fire, and, like, he's conflicted for a moment, and then, like nope, instead of putting the fire out, like, he just continues to go after her.
Yeah, he can't help himself. And then, so if I'm not mistaken, right, when he finally does get to her in the mess hall, he starts trying to rape her, right?
Yeah, he starts undoing his belt.
Okay, I'm not crazy. I thought I was.
He starts undoing his belt. He says, "I'm gonna fuck you into the dirt.
I'm gonna fuck you into the dirt."
But no, he does start undoing his belt. Like he like gets her hands and like holds her hands up and shit.
It's so he can.
And he's like
bind her hands with the belt, guys.
Nah, he's undoing. He fully,
while the place is on fire
in a burning house, was trying to and actually rape her. Like
that is so insane when you think about it. Like everything about that is so fucking nuts. But yeah, so I'm
rewatching it. I do not think he does anything with the belt, but don't get me wrong, he would have done that. He was enjoying it, and
he's doing something.
This is the moment in the show. It's like we see a couple of things. We see Joel at his most brutal, but we see Ellie at her most vulnerable.
We see Joel at his second most brutal.
Well,
he's about to be in his most brutal in the next episode.
Yeah, I agree with Kenny.
Oh yeah.
It's not even close.
His most brutal.
His first brutal up to this moment.
Yeah, up to this point.
See Ellie crying and shit though. She's really afraid.
Well, let's back up for a second because there's some really good writing here in The Last of Us. So when you see Joel killing those guys and on his way, you're like, oh, for sure, Joel is going to save Ellie. Joel's going to burst in. He's going to shoot David off the top of her while he's trying to get it in. And that's going to be the great savior. And what ends up happening is, and this is not like my own original thought, even though I did think it myself, the writers say this in the after the episode, but like, Joel does not save Ellie.
He doesn't get there in time.
That doesn't happen. She actually saves herself. And the brutality of the way she kills him, like she stabs him and stabs him and stabs him and stabs him and stabs him. And she's completely exerted herself. And she's like limping out of the fucking burning building, crying, right? She's still a little girl. So she was
going through so much trauma. Like
she comes out of that fucking bistro looking like a fucking meth addict.
The amount of trauma, like she gets kidnapped. She's in like a jail cell. She realizes that like a pervert pedophile is trying to like essentially rape her, and then she's about to get turned into dinner. They're going to chop her up and feed her to people.
So much,
and all of this happens within the span of probably a few hours.
And then she gets away, and then she fights him off, and then the guy actually gets to her and tries to rape her. Like the amount of shit she goes through in that period of time, like,
and she has to brutally kill a person this time. You know what I mean? Like, this is an up close and personal, brutal. She didn't get to just shoot him and be done with it. She had to stab him over and over and over and over and over again. And so when Joel comes up behind her, she's like, "No, let me go!" And she starts screaming, and I thought that part was so heartfelt because
what I've seen people say is he goes, "It's okay, baby girl."
He does say that.
It's the first time he said that in 20 years. He hasn't said baby girl in 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe when he was having sex with Tess, he would have said, "Oh yeah, baby girl." Maybe he said something like that.
I don't think so. I don't think he's that guy.
They don't blatantly like zoom in on it, but his watch is very visible in that scene when he's holding her. He says, "It's okay, baby girl." His green watch is on his wrist, and it's kind of framed in a way where you're supposed to see you're supposed to see that watch. But then the episode ends right there. And I thought that was one of the best episodes too, because despite the fact that Kenny and I knew instantly what was going on, it was still very well done. The way they did it. Like they didn't let us know for sure that he was on some bullshit until the 9th hour. And I was like, okay, well, there you go. When he put his hand on her hand, I was like, yep, that's what I was waiting for. I knew he was going to do it. And then episode 9. So obviously Ellie is traumatized after what happened to her in episode 8. And episode 9 starts off with the whole thing with her mother, which we already talked about. Her mother was attacked by a cordyceps runner, and she ended up killing the runner while she was giving birth at the exact same time. But the runner did end up infecting her with the cordyceps, and she cut the umbilical cord, but not fast enough, I guess. And so some of the cordyceps ended up getting
but man, like the time on that cut within the bite, it was quick too.
It was.
So whatever the fuck that was, and this is all like new shit. I don't know what any of this is. As far as I read the comic. If I recall, it's like I didn't really find it too interesting. But this is all new shit.
Okay.
So the way that you find out Ellie is immune, it's something with like, yeah, so you get infected, I guess, but it's like you get that fresh little stem cell baby cord going, and somehow maybe that creates some immunity. I don't know. That's
I guess because where she got bit, they showed where the mom's wound was at, and it was on her leg. It was on her thigh. And I think that perhaps because the thigh area is so close to where you would give birth, the travel time, because we know that travel time matters, because there was a whole diagram in episode 1 when that little boy was looking up at it, like if you're bit in the leg, it takes you up to 24 hours. If you're bit in the arm, it takes this amount. If you're bit in the fucking neck or face, you're done. Like Tess,
it's all about how long it takes to get to your brain.
Right. Tess was done really quickly because hers was on the neck. But when she revealed it was on the neck, so she had less than an hour, which is why she turned so quick. Well, was going to turn so quickly. Somebody explained to me, I don't know if it was on this podcast or not, but they explained that the reason why she allowed that fucking cordyceps demon to kiss her like that was because it was already taking over her body.
Yeah.
Like it was already weakening her will to fight back.
I'd be really quick. I think they were trying to go for maybe a little artsy shit.
I felt really like it was artsy with the whole kissing part, and she finally gets the lighter, but it was explained to me, I forget where I saw it, I forget where I read it, where I watched it, but it was explained to me that the reason why she allows that to happen, because no human in their fucking right mind will let something with tentacles coming out of its mouth.
Yeah. I mean, it was on the neck, and she had to spend time. First of all, it wasn't instantly that she revealed it to Joel. They spent time talking. Like time passed. Time passed.
My interpretation, at least, has always been that she was so goddamn afraid that she just was like completely stunned. But I mean, it could be that. It could be. Like,
I like the idea that the cordyceps started to take over better than her being afraid. Because I think that even if I'm afraid, I'm still not going to let you kiss me. Like that's just.
Yeah. Also, it's been a while since I saw that episode, because it's like episode 2 or whatever.
It is episode 2.
But I feel like she was in the process of doing something, and then like you can kind of tell that she stopped being able to do it.
Yes.
And then
there was a part where her body started to stiffen up a bit, like in a non-human way.
Yeah, so I definitely think, she was losing control of her functions.
Yeah. You know what I want to see? I'm glad that we're having this conversation right now. I had this thought in my head. I didn't write it down before the podcast, but now that we're on test, I wish that we got to see from start to finish. I wanted to watch a person get infected and then slowly lose their mind. Like I want to see but not someone who's
like without a skip.
Yeah, I want to see someone that is not disabled like the old lady was in the first episode. I want to see a human who's perfectly normal like me and you.
So fucking badass. If they were like, guys, we're putting on a bonus episode called like Infection. It's like somebody gets bit on their neck and they just it's literally just a dude. It'd be like a fucking almost like a security camera. It was like literally like an hour-long episode.
That would be so amazing.
A guy in a chair and that's it. But it's like it's not really an episode. It's like a bonus thing.
Yeah.
Like some Blu-ray shit.
And they just show you
like it would literally just slowly starts to fucking get jittery.
Well, what I would love to see, let's take it even a step further.
End, like the VHS would like cut off. It'd be like a VHS type.
I would like that, but I would also like for there to be some stimulus in the room with him. So I want there to be in a protected like cage of a sorts.
And they're like prodding him and shit.
I want there to be like a human. No. I want the guy to just be in like the person who's infected. They can just be free roaming in this room. But in that room, I want there to be a human that is completely protected from the person. And they're just like having a conversation, like count from 10 backwards, because they knew how it works in episode 1. When Marlene sends her people in, she asks her to do specific things every single like hour.
Yeah. Dude, how badass would it be though if they even went, maybe this is me going a little crazy, but like they even got like fucking Nazi experiment with it. And like, it's like scientists have this dude in this room. They're like, okay, remove his pinky. And they cut his fucking
well, that's what people, that's what people would do.
Badass.
That's not even Nazism. That's just actually how medicine got to where it is right now. Like that's real.
Yeah, just horrible torture that like
they definitely have captured
horrible that it happened, but it's like in a way it like advances science. It's like there's a weird fucking
episode 2 with the Indonesian lady, I think it was.
Yeah, that was I loved that shit. That shit was really cool.
They had a person just on a gurney that they were pretty much experimenting on, and like seeing how I mean, she scalpeled her leg, and you saw the cordyceps in her body.
Yeah,
it's that white shit. I didn't really even know that was anything until I like maybe like a week or two after I linked a Wikipedia article. Like that is a real fucking thing. It's like mycelium or something, and it's like I literally thought it was supposed to be like
that's real life shit. Like that's real life.
I thought it was like fake movie shit.
No, that's completely real in terms of fungi and stuff.
It's on my.
I'm going to say, something I would love to see in, it's not where the story takes place, but I love like how we got that flashback in that other country. I would love to see current day kind of stuff that's going on in the other countries. Like what's going on in Britain?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like right now, like what's going on in Japan? Like what's going on in these other places? Would just be interesting. But this episode, I want to say real quick, I won't dwell on it too long. When I found out this episode was 45 minutes, I was pretty disappointed.
Bummer.
I definitely went into this hoping that the last episode would be like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Me too. I thought the same thing like Game of Thrones would have done.
It's not right.
I have good things to say about this episode. Like there's a lot of stuff that I liked about it. But overall, I was a little disappointed because it felt, by the time it was done, it felt a little rushed. I was like, man, I just wish it was a little longer. Like it was the only episode that I felt like was rushed, I guess, kind of to say. Like it just kind of felt like it happened quickly.
I sent a picture to the group chat real quick for us. There is a real life cordyceps infection on a spider. And when I saw this, this creeps me out so bad because this looks like some real Last of Us shit. Like this. And there's several, if you just type in cordyceps spider on Google, obviously this is nightmare fuel, so probably don't do this. But like the shit that you see in the show is inspired by something that happens in real life. Like they're not making up
ants and shit.
Yeah, they're not making up how creepy it looks when you see the cordyceps take over insects and animals. It looks just as creepy, basically, as what you're seeing.
My God, Kenny, you should drag that in. That's people. The world has to see that fucking critter. Little warning. I mean, the show is TVMA, but if Kenny drags us in, that's a little past that. That's a fucking
these things look so fucking creepy to me. So yeah, I wouldn't mind some extra content where they just kind of show, a person going from very reasonable. Me and you were having a conversation, but I'm infected clearly, and I say, listen, I'm about to be infected. You guys can do whatever experiments you want on me. I give you full permission. Like, use this to save humanity, basically. And so we're having a conversation. Me and Kenny were talking, and then after a while, I start, I guess, becoming feral. I just want to see what it looks like to see someone go from normal to just. I want to see what Riley became.
This one's really nasty. I don't know if you guys want to see it. Tell me if you want to delete that right away. I'll delete it. It's a fly's head. All right, I'll delete that in a second. You see it?
Yeah, I see. I mean,
the eye sockets, I think they're like missing, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, this shit, the fact that it like eats on, it like feeds on.
The creators are convinced that if this happened to humans, like we would be fucked. Like we would just truly be fucked because like I
mean, why wouldn't we be fucked?
Yeah, I was going to say this. I was thinking the exact same thing verbatim.
Like I've only ever seen them die and then it sprouts out of their heads. Like everything I've seen of it, they don't move around a lot once they're infected like that. Like they'll crawl around and then they'll die and then it'll keep growing out of their body. But I want to see like, does it go to the other ants and fucking try to infect them with it? Like if that happens, well then
that part is because if it's one thing if humans just die from it, right? If we just die,
it'd be no different than like Ebola or something.
Yeah, if we die and then we just kind of stay put and we start sprouting out more of the fungus, it's like, okay, that's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as us. But it's not us running at other humans to bite them.
Yeah, but if there's like a thing in our brain that goes, man, like Frasier, what was the thing when Frasier? It's like, man, look at the size of that thing. I need to go touch Frasier and like infect him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the fuck it would take. Oh, I just linked that, Kenny.
So episode 9, the last episode, I agree with you guys that it does kind of suck that it was only 45 minutes or whatever. Yeah. But it was a very well done episode, all things considered. Like it starts off with Ellie's mom thing. You find out that Marlene was there when her mom actually gave birth, and she didn't want to take her at first and all that stuff. That's where the knife came from, which is pretty cool. I didn't think that the knife had that much significance, but that knife has been used multiple times now throughout the show.
Oh, yeah, the switchblade is like classic, you know?
Yeah, I really like that. It came from her mom. She said, give her this.
I don't remember if that's in the game or not. Yeah.
Yeah, that part's really cool. And then it just shows present day Ellie, and she is, again, traumatized, PTSD. Like, she's super quiet, super subdued, and Joel obviously notices it, so he's the talkative one now. And it's such a cool flip from episode 2
yeah,
and 3,
it is, right?
because she was annoying as fuck in those episodes to him.
Fuck up.
She wouldn't shut up. And now he's the one who constantly is saying, like, he's making jokes that aren't funny, and he's saying
he offers her a beefaroni Chef Boyardee and the kid said no. I'd fucking yes, beefaroni.
It's cool to see, because like as the adult in the situation, as like the protective sort of father in the situation, he is sitting because he knows something's wrong with her. He knows that what she's feeling, and so he's like just trying to talk to her, trying to like get her out of the funk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he just keeps trying to initiate contact to like do whatever he can to get her out of the funk without being awkward, without blatantly being awkward and bringing up the situation. You know.
So if the flashback segment is 10 minutes, an episode's 45 minutes. So in a way, it's like, in a way, we kind of had like a 35-minute-er, and it's like, oh, just give us more. Like, surely there's more on the cutting room floor they could have gave us. Like, it was just a really short.
Well, they're going to package and sell it as bonus content on the Blu-ray when it comes out and all that.
Maybe
there's going to be a shit ton of cutout scenes and stuff. You can imagine. It's
real
HBO.
Quick, after this episode aired, they actually had like a half an hour. I fell asleep during like the end of it. I'm going to rewatch it. It was like a 30 or 35-minute thing where it showed like the making of. Okay. And it actually aired right after this last episode.
So I want to watch that then.
You know,
you would have been able to see if you kept your TV on. They would have showed you.
I want to say real quick, something I'm scared of for season 2 is I saw an article, and apparently HBO responded to the criticisms. Basically, the latter half of the season, there was a lot of criticisms and complaints from the audience that there wasn't enough action and there wasn't enough like zombies and stuff like that. And people complaining. And while I think it would have been cool to see more situations where they have to survive and deal with it, HBO apparently officially responded saying that they were focusing a lot on the relationships, but like, don't worry, season 2 is going to have a lot more action.
Well, that's just them sprucing it up. But like,
I'm just saying though, like, I'm good. I want the good writing. Like, I don't want just action spam. You know,
we had our action scene. That was with the boys, with the brothers. You know.
Yeah, that was the middle of the season, and I think that was like perfect action to me. But I saw that too, Kenny, today, and that they said there would be a lot more infected, and I'm just hoping that is a to keep interest high tagline and not an actual thing that they're going to focus on.
Even if there's more, even if there is a lot more,
they have no say in it.
I hope that it
comes down to Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. It is no one else's decision. You know what I mean?
That's not always true,
yeah, but HBO gives people freedom. It's Big Daddy HBO. You know,
it's just not always true. They also made the Velma show. So anyway,
and the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones.
Oh, poor Velma.
But anyway, Velma. If there is a lot more infected, as long as it's still part of the plot and it's part of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if there's more infected and more action, as long as it's all still part of the writing.
It has to make sense, right?
Yeah.
The Walking Dead, my biggest gripe, and I always say it on this show, especially when we talk about The Last of Us, is that it gets to a point where zombies just appear for no reason.
Yeah.
They just appear.
I'll say this. When we reviewed the last review of this, we said that it would be corny or whatever, and I don't want to see Joel be Rambo. Now, that said, in this last episode, and I guess in episode 8 too, Joel's Rambo. But I guess in the presentation of it all and the situation and how it happens, like, I didn't really mind that he was Rambo. It felt like
the Rambo moment. That's like,
it felt like it was done in an intelligent way. It wasn't just him standing in the middle of the street shooting and killing everybody.
Like fucking
Frank. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah.
Frank. Bill was like
literally
in the middle of the street. It's like, what are you doing? You're in the open. What are you doing? And like, he's like, call Joel. Like, everybody is the guy that got
also. Before he goes Rambo, Marlene establishes, like, she says, like, how the fuck did you get here? Like, there was 5 guys whose sole job was just to protect me, and they're all dead. And like, I barely made it here alive. Like, how the fuck did you get here? Like, nobody else could have got here but you. So it's established. First of all, we've seen the whole season, but it's also established by other characters. Like, Joel is on some crack. Like, he's he's on some other shit. And
I love that about him. I love that he is ridiculous.
He fucks that hospital.
You only see it in small bursts.
When he's going through the hospital.
So hold on.
Yeah, okay.
Because I want to talk a little bit more about the scene between him and Marlene, because I think that she ends up being basically a villain at the end of it that I did not expect. So I want to talk about that conversation that they have just a slight bit. So they're talking, and she's like, "You're the one person I did not want to be in debt to," right? Like she's like, "I did not want to be in debt to you, but you got it done. I don't know how the fuck you did it, like you said." And then he's asking like, "Where's Ellie?" She's like, "Oh, she's in a surgery room or whatever like that." He's like, "Surgery?" It's like, "Yeah, she's in a surgery room." And she explains how she's immune. Basically, there's good cordyceps, and it sends some receptors that tells the other cordyceps that, oh, you don't have to do anything here. This is already infected, basically. And they're going to try to replicate that. So they're going to do surgery on her. She's in a pediatric, well, he doesn't say it, but yeah, she's in a pediatric ward. And as they're talking, it gets to a point where he's like, so they're going to do surgery, but cordyceps affects the brain. And she's like, yeah, it does. And so then he realizes, oh, she's going to die for this. Like, and it's not even guaranteed that this is even going to work. This is all completely a hypothesis.
It's not. What is it called? It's a shot to the moon. You know what I mean? Like
you have no idea if this is going to work at all. So she's going to die the only thing that's guaranteed is that Ellie's going to die, right? Like she's going to die in this. They're going to operate on her fucking brain, and she's going to die. So when she says that, Joel is like, absolutely fucking not. And he gets an attitude. So him and Marlene start arguing back and forth. And this is where I realized, like, oh, wow, Marlene is like, no, I get it. One versus the many. So she says, you don't understand. I was there when she was fucking born. Okay.
Yeah. Cause Joel says, like, you don't understand. Like, cause Joel's arguing for Ellie. He's like, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand this girl. Like, and then she's like, Marlene basically says, like, I do understand. I might be the only one that understands. Like, I was there when she was born.
So again, this is where the show does such a good job of perspective, because like just how I said about Ellie and Joel in episode 6, where he's going through his own trauma, so he wants to get rid of her, and he thinks this is the best thing for her. He's not really like doing it because he doesn't like her, because by episode 6, he's clearly in love with the girl as far as her being like a daughter to him. Yeah. But he doesn't want the burden anymore. He doesn't want to let her down and risk her dying on his watch. So he wants to give her away. And then from her perspective, she's like, this is exactly what everybody else does. So now Marlene and Joel are having the exact same type of thing where their perspective matters. From Marlene's perspective, her mom, Ellie's mom, was Marlene's friend. She said, how long have we known each other? She said, our whole life. Okay. So like you are meant to understand, even though we don't get a lot of development on those two characters, you are meant to understand that when someone says, I knew you my whole fucking life, you're basically my best friend or one of my best friends. Like if I say I knew you my whole life, bro, that means that that's our whole life. And like Marlene's clearly in her late 40s. Like she's clearly an older woman. And so she's like, I knew you my whole life. That's a really big fucking deal. And she takes on the responsibility of this kid. And like, she ends up with this fake name, Veronica, and all this other shit. And eventually that's what she says in episode 1. It's like she eventually tells her the truth, but there is some stake for Marlene in this situation too. It can come off, because the show is a show and we don't get 50 hours of content. It can come off a little like, oh, Marlene's just like this heartless bitch and I hate this character. It's like, no, she's doing what she thinks is the best for humanity overall. For
humanity.
Yeah. And she also,
it's like, I've known Kenny my whole life. I'd sell him for Chef Boyardee. You know what I mean?
But like if somebody asked me to kill my best friend to save humanity, it's going to be a really, really hard decision for me to make. And I'm not sure if I would be able to make that decision. And somebody who is, which is what Marlene is, she's a Thanos. She's basically like, I'm the only one who can do this.
That's something I love about that situation, is that like Marlene says, like, Marlene basically said, because she's essentially saying what you're saying, like, I understand I was there when she was born, but like this could save humanity. And then she says, like, I don't have a choice. Like, I have to do, she's almost saying, like, I have to do this. This is for humanity. And then Joel says, well, I have a choice. Like,
yeah.
Joel's like, well,
and I think
I've got a fucking choice.
He says something that is threatening, I'm assuming. I forget exactly what the lines were, but he says something to her that makes her eventually go sour. And she says, take him out to the road with his pack. And if he tries anything, shoot him.
Shoot him.
Yep.
If it was Joel, very sudden though. It's so.
What happened to you owing me one? What happened to?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, yo, that's
owed one.
So is one thing that she was like, okay, you're not complying with what we're going to do here, and I get that you're upset. You need some time to cool off. But I think that sending him out to the highway with his backpack, and then telling him to shoot him if he tries anything is like, one, I didn't get anything out of this. Like, I just delivered this fucker. You know what that told me though? Something I was wondering. The Fireflies and what is it called? What's the government called?
Last of Us? Oh, well, Fedra?
Fedra. So the Fireflies and Fedra are just two sides of the same coin.
Oh, like, yeah.
They are just as fucked up because the way they handled that situation showed me how grimy they can be too. Just like Fedra, like she got what she wanted out of the situation and she discarded him at the end. She wasn't going to even give him anything. It's like the whole point of this, at the very least, let's say Joel actually delivered Ellie and was like, all right, where's my pay? It didn't seem like he was going to get anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It was like, if you deliver this girl,
I'll give you anything.
Trucks.
No, she said, I'll give you anything you want.
But
and
remember, he does like, trucks, guns, whatever. It was like literally, and what he says the test on like episode 1 or whatever. He's like, if they give us trucks, their Firefly trucks are like Fedra repurposed trucks. Like they're gonna be fucking not just like a pickup truck. It's gonna have like fucking metal on it or something. You know what I mean? So it's like
I just did not like how she handled this. So
basically, just did him dirty.
Yes.
Like,
so when I saw that, I said, "Oh, the Fireflies are pretty corrupt too. Like they're on some strong arm shit, just like anybody else."
And he traveled across the goddamn country for this shit.
Yes. So when I saw that, I said, okay, all bets are off. And then obviously I knew exactly where it was going. As soon as I saw him walking slowly, he kept looking. There was like a sign that showed the pediatric ward where every floor was. And he was like, I didn't hear anyone say stop. I was like, that guy's going to be the first one to die. Okay. Huh? And they got to the stairwell and then he just stopped. Like he literally didn't even like, after a point, he just stopped walking.
Yep.
And in my opinion, they should have already been ready for, like, I would have been ready to shoot him before he even got to that point. Because when he stopped at the elevator and was staring at the one sign to see like where every floor, like what every floor was, I would have already been on some shit like, oh, okay, I think this guy is not going to go down without a fight. Let me just load my gun. Let me cock it back. Let me just load the bad boy up, you know? But yeah, he gets to the stairwell and he just starts Ramboing. He kills the first guy so fucking fast.
And he plucks the fucking the pocket knife. He plucks Ellie's pocket knife off one of the soldiers that he kills in the stairwell.
Yep. He takes it off of him and then he shoots the other guy in the face.
But like also think that like Marlene knew that he would want to have that. You know what I mean? So like you have to think about that. Not that it really means anything, but like you get what I'm saying? Like she thought of it. She's like, give that to him, you know? Like
there's always it's so bad because again, Marlene is not really a villain per se. She just is doing what is right from her perspective. This is what is right for everybody.
She's doing what she thinks is right, and she's not necessarily a bad person. That's why she didn't straight up kill him. That's why she wanted to let him have the knife as like as a memento. Like she tried. I also think part of like. I think in a weird way, and maybe this is just me reaching, I think in a weird way, she wanted, obviously, Ellie for the experiment to go well with Ellie. But I think a small part of her, like, she knew Joel was going to try to come back. And I think, like, a part of her is, like, almost was like, well, if he wins, he wins. Like, in a weird way.
Right.
Like, if he ends up saving her, he ends up saving her in a way.
Like Aaron in that last episode. Oh, yeah, I guess we can talk about that. But yeah,
I just think, like, I think he just... She just let him have like his own little agency.
There's a really good thing I could say right here. Kenny already probably understands what I'm saying, but But yeah, I get what you mean. So yeah, Marlene ends up turning on him basically, but not for her own selfish reasons, because I don't think it's selfish at all what she's doing. She's choosing humanity over the life of this one girl, and apparently, I think somebody said like Ellie would have wanted the same thing. Like this is what
So Marlene says this, and this is where I sort of kind of call bullshit, right? Because I was streaming last night and somebody in chat asked me, like, am I team Joel or team rest of the world? And I was like, I'm team Joel all day. And I was like, really?
What I was going to say is like, that's what I was going to, so like, I had 8 or 9 years to think about it before Last of Us 2. So like, it's like, are you like with the decision or are you against the decision?
Is this actually the ending of the game? Like this is the end of the game?
Yeah.
So wow.
It's
I can see why this one game in a year easily. Like,
and then it's amazing, dude. And then like at the very end, he's like, she just says like, if like, tell me that like what you did was right, and that like what the Fireflies like, just tell me it's the truth. And he's like, yeah, it's the truth. And then credits.
Apparently he foreshadows that earlier in an episode, which I didn't really catch at the time. something about her saying that if you were to lie to me, I would believe you or something like that. Like if it ever came up that you had to lie to me or something, like I would probably just believe you. And I think it was in the after the episode thing, but yeah, apparently that's like a thing that he brought up earlier.
What I wanted to say though is that so somebody asked me and I said I'm Team Joel, just at the situation, how it all turned out. But I then clarified, I was like, really? I'm Team Ask Ellie, because she tells Joel, like, don't worry, Ellie's not scared. We didn't tell her what's actually happening.
Right.
We're going to do this. She'll never know, right? But then downstairs, when he's holding Ellie's unconscious body, she says, like, Joel, think about what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is to save humanity. Like, what can you do? And then she says, like, what do you think Ellie would do? I think she would have chose this too. And my thing was, I don't know if you even believe that, because you didn't tell her. Like, you can't tell Joel Ellie would have chose this because you didn't give Ellie a choice. You lied to her and told her that, like, everything's safe and everything's okay. So, like, really what it is like, if you truly believe that, then you should have told her, because you lied to her too. You said, like, don't worry, everything's cotton candy and rainbows. Like, if you believe that she would choose the world, then give her that chance and ask her that question. But Marlene didn't do that. So I think it's a little shady for her to tell Joel, like, Ellie would have chose this, because it's like, you didn't give her a choice to choose it.
Yeah, so Joel goes on a fucking rampage in this hospital, man. I mean, he just starts killing everybody, and the way he is killing them is fucking brutality, okay?
Yes.
It's to the point where one guy, he disarms the guy, and the guy's backing up and just, like, essentially harmless now. And Joel, and I knew this was coming, obviously, but Joel just straight up shoots the guy in the fucking face.
The amount of times
you don't have time to, like, you have to do that.
Executes people. Like,
you don't have time to think, like, okay, that guy could bend over and pick that gun back up. You got.
Yeah,
I even love where somebody. I think he goes to somebody. He says, "I don't have time for this." Pow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where is she? Like, he says, "Where is she?"
That
fuck you. I don't have time for that.
Series. I don't have time for this.
I love that though. I love I'm not used to seeing people not monologue a bit or like talk their shit a little bit.
Fucking, you killed my brother. It's like always this like fucking monologue.
I'm not used to somebody who just stands on business like Joel does. Joel just fucking stands on business. I don't have time for that. Is the only line you get out of that man. I think that's the only line you got out of this entire thing was, I don't have time for this. And then the next line he gives you is, you would just come after her. Pow. Like,
dude, when he goes into the operation room, he goes into the operation room and he's like,
unhook her.
He passes the gun. He's like, unhook her. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, unhook her. And then he just he's like, all right, kills the doctor.
Yeah, the doctor walks up. He's like, do you understand what you're doing? Pow! I'm not asking again. Unhook her. And he says, now. Unhook her.
Goes to the nurses and he's like, unhook her. And the nurses are,
and then he says,
fucking hook her.
And then he says, blot the blood on her arm.
Yep.
And he says, do it quickly. Like, he's giving up very succinct orders, okay?
The way he kills that doctor.
Even a drop of Ellie's blood isn't worth the gallons of blood of all the men in the hospital that he killed. Fuck those guys, you know what I mean?
Listen, he the way he kills that doctor, and yeah, Fraser, you already said it. At the end, when he shoots Marlene in the stomach, and then Marlene's like, please, don't kill me, blah, 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 think about this, whatever. And then he just straight up says, like, you're going to come after us.
Yeah,
like, you wouldn't stop. You're going to come after her.
Yeah.
And then he just kills her. Like, it's fucking awesome, man.
I love how quick his decision making is. I think that's what you need. I think that also shows you that he was 100% some kind of soldier, because it's just not normal for a normal person to be. I mean, he's going through 20 years of this, but like, it is not normal for a person to just be this succinct in their decision making. He's so quick.
Even at the start, though, like at the start of when they were in the truck and like his brother was like, people, and he was like, run them over. Like, we have a kid in the car.
He did say that. And then also when he passed the people in the burning house.
Yeah,
he was like, oh, they had a kid.
He's like, we have a farm. He's like, yeah, it's a cool fucking farm.
That's one of my favorite lines when they're like, he's like, they have a kid, and he's like, we have.
So do we.
Like, keep driving.
Yeah. So his decision making, even before the world was apocalypse, was always like, when it comes to protecting, it's quick. Like,
he clicks.
If you need somebody who's not going to really think too much and they're just going to do it, he's the guy. He stands on business and it's fast. I fucking love that about him.
Yeah, he's the man. I'm also surprised he's alive. I thought for sure that he'd die at the end of the season or something. Like, I thought, without playing the game, I just assumed like by the end of this game, Joel's dead.
Same. I didn't think that Joel was going to. I thought that, first of all, let's be real, him going against an entire hospital of Fireflies, I foresaw that he was going to get to Ellie and die. That's kind of where I thought, because the music stopped at one point. It was just kind of quiet and him just ramboing. And I said, oh, he's going to run into like a squad of men. And one of them's going to shoot him in the leg and he's going to drop down, but he's still going to have his gun. He's going to be doing that thing where you back up with the gun on the floor. You're like bleeding and you're like kind of kicking back and they're going to start popping him in the shoulder and shit. I just imagine like it was going to be one of those scenes, because now this is where you can tell it's a video game. What he did is not real, right? Like that's just not real. And this is where I was like, okay, I don't mind that he's doing something that is so unrealistic, because this is one based on a video game. They're trying to stay as true to the script as possible, which I love. Like I love that about it, because this is also proof that video games adapted can be done well, even with a bit of suspension of disbelief. Like I already accept that there are fucking fungi out there that are taking over humans and making them run at you when the human was disabled. I'm already accepting that. So for me to be like, oh, Joel couldn't possibly go through a hospital and kill like 18 soldiers, it's like, well, what? Like, did you just watch the last 8 episodes of nonsense that you just saw? Like,
they do a good job setting it up and prepping you for this situation.
Yes, it's not the craziest thing, but I do like that you can tell that it's based on a video game. That last sequence of him killing all those people, I was like, this is some video game shit.
Yeah. But it's like, whereas that's like almost like a little homage to the game, as opposed to like fucking, you see like the Resident Evil type shit.
Yeah, it doesn't feel cheesy.
Video game. It's not anything. It's bullshit.
It doesn't feel cheesy to me at all. Like when I was watching it and he was killing all those people, I was giddy like a fucking schoolgirl watching that scene entire time. Like I could not control I was so happy he was killing those people.
Oh man, it's so fucking.
Don't click
so
that.
so Kenny said he's Team Joel. What team are you on, Fraser?
Yeah, I mean, for real, I'm more so like I said, I'm Team Joel, because at the end of the day, I think Joel stood on his shit, because the thing with Marlene, and although I agree with her perspective, I understand her perspective. When she tried to say, Joel, like, Ellie would choose this, my whole thing is like, you can't say that because you didn't let Ellie choose this. Like, you lied to her and you didn't give her the choice.
So, Cheyenne, to answer your question, what team am I on? Team Joel or Team World? I'm really annoyed that you haven't seen Attack on Titan yet, because
oh man, I'm gonna watch it.
There is this is something that I was saying in another conversation, but like, it's easy to say I'm Team the World when I don't know what it feels like to take care of this little girl for almost a year.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's easy for me because the rationality in me right now is saying I'm obviously Team World because I have no actual connection to Ellie. But if you ask me the same exact question, but my little sister, who I have a little sister in real life.
Yeah.
If you said your little sister is the cure, she's Ellie, now make the decision. Your little sister or the world. That is a fucking hard decision.
It's a lot harder.
It's a lot harder.
Do it. I'd say do it. It's like,
but here's the thing. I think like, especially
boys, if I'm the cure, just do it. You know
it's we're men. It's I feel like it's different with us.
The game, and this is something that's awesome about it being a video game, right? And now I haven't played the video game myself, and I had no intention to, but I actually think now I might. And initially, when I started watching the season, my thought process was like, now I really don't have to play the game because like I'm gonna get the whole story here.
Right.
And I've heard multiple times from multiple people. The main one that this podcast knows is Ant, but I've heard from other people too that the game is a better show than it is a game. But without even playing the game, there's a part of me that will slightly disagree now, and it's something that makes me interested in playing the game. When you get to the end of the game, right, and you get to the part, and like obviously it's a discussion in the community, Team Joel or Team Rest of the World. When you play the game, you are Joel for the whole game. So by the time you get to the end of the game, your connection, you're really going to probably have a connection with Ellie.
You do play Ellie a little bit.
But yeah, my point is you're going to sympathize with, like, you're even going to be more Team Joel, and maybe not everybody, but I know me, I'll be even more Team Joel because I'll be like, this is my fucking kid. Fuck y'all.
I know, man. I know.
It's like this is my fuck you. Like, I'm killing all of y'all, and that's how I am in like other games I've played. Like, I remember playing certain games where like or Triangle Strategy. I remember playing Triangle Strategy, and that's probably one of the best games ever that I've played that puts you in situations where you got to make decisions. And there's situations where you have to make decisions, and multiple times I was like, I'm Team fuck y'all. I don't care what situation you're putting me in. Like, these are my people, and fuck you. And like, that was my shit.
Yeah, man. It's like, I think I'm Team World, but it's like
the rational side of me is Team World.
But my thing is this. It's like,
oh, that was a decision though.
If we're going to cut her brain up into little pieces. Can we at least we gotta have like the best dude alive right now. We gotta make sure like we're fucking doing it perfect.
I would need that Indonesian doctor. Like I need some.
And you know what? And if Ellie doesn't get the choice,
that's the big thing. You gotta give her a choice.
But also, it's like, no, you don't. It's like it's horrible.
That's where I kill my best friend.
I know,
like,
man.
My best friend says she doesn't get a choice. It's like, well, that's where you die, my friend. That's where you die.
I know what you're saying, but it's like, man, like
I'm quiet right now, mostly because I am thinking about the idea of having to sacrifice my sister to save the world.
But like, I'd be like, Fraser, you know the answer.
The answer is, though, I should definitely choose the world. But when I tell you,
girl.
It's the hardest thing to fucking imagine. I can't imagine.
I'm gonna say this.
I'd say Fraserette has to go.
Even if I wasn't related to Ellie at all, if it was a random kid, random 12-year-old who I didn't know, my opinion would still be you have to give her a choice. Because like
to me, about the J-Man, it could be the J-Man. You know what I mean?
But my point is, it doesn't even need to be somebody I'm related to. To me, it's like if you don't give them a choice, like whatever your justification is, you're a villain. Like,
no, I agree.
You have to give that person a choice. You can't just say like I'm going to kill them and like that's it. Like
the reason I say that you can't give them a choice because it's like I agree with you guys in a situation where the world isn't over. It's like the reason they don't get the chance is because I think like don't get me wrong, it's horrible. I would be a villain. I would be a villain. I'd be twirling my fucking mustache like she doesn't get a choice.
Oh my god.
But like the thing is, and then you guys would just go, "Shame on you." But the thing is, like you don't get a choice. You don't get a choice.
Shame on you.
Because she would just say, "I want to be alive." Well, I don't know. We don't know, right? We'd have to see whatever happens.
Man,
but
that question.
The person, any human wants to be alive, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, man, you send me off with like a nifty 50s burger. And like you let me play a little Overwatch, like make my.
Some people will choose like
take sure me for
the sake of humanity, but I just think you got to give the person that has to.
If they get a choice,
you got to give them a choice.
But it's like billions of lives way. It's like it's at the point where like the Joseph Mengele Nazi experimentation that's on the table. It's like all that horrible experimentation that's back on the menu because.
We're already here.
Done. No,
we're already
That's
we're already at the end of the world.
We're already here. It's like the world was here. The world was here. We're all the way down here, and if it goes a little bit fucking further, we're extinct. So it's like, come on, man. If we gotta poke her brain open and fuck around in her brain, we gotta do it. And it's horrible, but it's like she doesn't get a say, and the reason being is because
not on my block.
Villainous and it's evil, and it's like, but. It could save, but I would say
imagine Ellie went kicking and fucking screaming to the pediatric ward.
Yeah, man.
Just like let's recontextualize the scene because we don't even get to see her really going.
She gets lied to. She goes there, fucking ice cream and rainbows. They're like, it's gonna be nice and sweet. Don't worry. Like they fucking lie to her.
Yeah.
I'm going back.
I would have been like the one Firefly, like when Joel comes in, and I would have already been killing another Firefly. Like I'm on your team.
Smoke bomb Ellie.
Yeah, they sneak up.
Dude, that scene, by the way, that scene is awesome. You see them walking and they're telling jokes, and then you see the soldiers in the background throw the smoke bomb. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That scene is shot so well.
They must have known they were coming in somehow. Like they knew it was her.
They have scouts. They have scouts on top of buildings.
Marlene explained it. She said that I had she said I had a patrol guy who saw you. So like they're just because you just have to imagine a giraffe is being fed by like some random two people in a distance. Like, something is going on. They're very close to where the giraffe thing was.
Yeah.
So
it is very close. Yeah, but my thing is like this: if you're going to make the villainous decision of they don't get a choice, I want fucking the greatest surgeon to ever.
Yeah, but that doesn't even that doesn't exist. Though, you know what I mean? Like,
the greatest surgeon is likely dead, but.
Yeah, I know. Like all that shit isn't
like the lady who said bomb in episode 2. She was the greatest, and she's fucking bombed.
Yeah, right now, like the greatest surgeon is a veterinarian. Like that's who's left. Like a veterinarian is like that's the top doctor right now.
Yeah. See, that's like a tough one though. But if it's like if you got a guy, he's like, I'll tell you what, I'd take a mean canine teeth out. I'll be like, I don't know.
They've got like their best surgeons, like a veterinarian, a dentist, and a med school student. Like that's what they got.
But if they knew the process of making some kind of serum, I'd say this. If you this is where I think it's like equivalent exchange, right? If we do the thing, we make the experiment, we turn her blood into some kind of serum, whatever the fuck it is, then whoever makes that decision for her has to try whatever it is. Like you have to
I don't know. If
you get infected or whatever, you got to try whatever it is, like without hesitation. You have to be able to try the fruits of whatever that is. A potion, drink a little potion, whatever it is. A little Ellie juice.
Yeah.
Oh, a little Ellie juice. Yeah. Oh,
but this season of HBO was it was a really good fucking show.
It was very, very good.
Pleasantly surprised. I'm happy to say that we have a really, really good video game adaptation that is
one of the first ever, not counting the original Mario Bros. What a masterpiece that is. No, I think it's good for cyberpunk aesthetics. So I don't think season 2 will be ready for a while. I just don't even see I think it's going to take them
it's going to take 2 years.
The game is 3 times longer than the first game.
They said they're going to split it up into 2 seasons.
They did?
Yes.
Because that's what I was saying. I was like, me and Connie were saying that from day one. We were like,
the writer said that it is going to go into more than it said. They didn't even say 2. They said more than 1 season. So that's already the money part of it coming in, right? Because obviously this show was a success.
I know what you mean. I feel you on that, but it has to be there's no way.
I get it.
Can make it. Yeah,
but that's also even if game 2 was not super long,
not super long.
They would have still been we have to find a way to stretch this because
boys get a little money going.
This is now their hottest. Come on, apparently this broke a lot of records. This the finale episode.
The Dragon might be ahead of it, but
the finale episode of this was 2 times the premiere episode's viewership. So that's
whoa, baby.
There was a lot of word of mouth, man. A lot of people talked about the show. I've heard people talk about it, and both good and bad. I've heard people talk about it and sing its praises, and I've heard, as with anything that gets popular, you get the people that are like, I've never seen an episode of The Last of Us, and I'm cool. And you get the people that are just like, somebody talks about how amazing an episode is, and they're like, that episode was so boring, it sucked. You get all of that, but what that tells you is that it actually is really good and really popular, because that's when those people come out. The people that say, I've never seen an episode of this, and look how cool I am, that only happens when something's doing really well.
Yeah.
Now we just need a good Silent Hill adaptation. I don't think that'll ever happen. Maybe the remake of the game.
A boy can dream.
Boy can dream.
All right. Well,
fucking Resident Evil.
Before we get out of here,
Evil
I'm going to give a shout out to our Patreon members. Thank you guys so much for supporting the IMNerd podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This was a really fun one to record. And I think that this was the first time that Kenny and I have done in order like this multiple episodes of the podcast on a show, and I think that we'll adopt this going forward because it's really easy content to put out, but it's also, I think it's better than when we wait until this whole season's done and kind of try to review 9 episodes of an hour show, and then we have to come back to it because 2 hours is not enough time.
If I had it my way, we would have done 2 more of these. You know what I mean? We would have had 2 every other episode.
This was good though. We did episode 1, episode 5, and then episode 9. So I think that that's boom, every 4 episodes we did every 4 episodes of Last of Us we did an episode of the podcast. So it's pretty cool. And I think that this, like I said, I think this is something that we could do for when House of the Dragon comes back in 2 years or whatever it is.
I'm definitely happy to, if there's any other shows that are out that come out that Cheyenne wants to be part of, I'm down.
Yeah, I'm down, man. Yeah. I love being on the podcast. I want to be the most prolific podcast guest on here, but I also want to be the best one.
I mean, you're definitely the most unique for sure. That's
You're definitely the most unique.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
You're certainly the most unique.
But yes, as I was saying, thank you guys. I'm going to give a shout out to Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest. I got to go to page 2 here. Okay. Garen, Xavier, Hylian, Dimitri Barnes, Vinny Casello, Dominique Roberts, Giovanni Avalos, Alex Flamer, Omri Reynolds, CJ, WK Dad 1, Dan Variable, First to Home, Dallas Ferneris, Estat Akuma, Mitchell Naus, Midwest Gaming, William Shapiro, Dimitri Safirdas, Vince Marquette, Dallas Bailey, Doc and Ziggy, Roz Weiss, Nick Stango, Hanso, our two-time national champion, Vincent Zen, Sarah Maria, Sunny Top Cut Podcast, Alex Ahern, Philip Campa, Jalen Haskins, Arale Melfi Slump, Chris Lynn, Wookie 159, MSW 2389, Edison Club, Kyle Batelho, Brandon Moore, Sugal, Nick, Mr. Soltai. Ooh, Eric changed his name on here. That's so fucking cool. So I told, I was in a Discord earlier, I think it was either today or yesterday, and I was saying, I think that Kenny said you can change your display name on Patreon, so that way I don't have to read out your actual government name if you want. And this guy, I know him on Dueling Book, and he's in the IMNerd Discord because he joined the Patreon, but Mr. Soltai changed his name already. It's been like literally less than 24 hours, I think, so now I get to read out Mr. Soltai. Anyways, Nafa, Corey Fowler, Omar Ramos, Elijah Barfault, and then Kenny has the next couple.
And then I've got I'm gonna do one of them out of order, but we have my man Cairo, a true hero, Tyler Tadeo, Anthony, Matt Glenny, and then our guest for today's episode, who's also a Patreon member, Cheyenne, aka Majora. Majora plays games.
Oh baby, that last one was like silk on my balls.
When you joined the Patreon, I couldn't tell that it was you for sure. Like I assumed, but then nothing about this blatantly said that it was you, because I looked at the email address and I was like, okay, the only person I know who uses Majora is you. But then I was like, Zelda's so big that could be any other nerd in the world, technically.
Yeah.
Like that could just be someone else. I said, most likely it is Cheyenne, but I was like, I didn't hear him say, oh, by the way, I'm going to join the Patreon. So I had no idea this was coming.
He joined. So we were in a call one day, and I don't remember the exact context of what happened, but basically he found out that we had a Discord, and he just wanted to join the Discord, and he was like,
yo, come on, let me join.
Give me a link to the Discord. I was like, yeah, you got to sign up for the Patreon. He's like, yeah, but can I get a friend link? And I was like, no. I was like,
let me get that friend hookup.
I was like, everybody in the Discord.
Kenny told me the only way that I could join was
suck it for daddy.
And I was just like, I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to suck it for daddy. I just want to.
But anyway, he joined the Patreon right away, and I definitely appreciate it. All the help, and this goes for everybody. All the help really fucking helps.
It really does.
Fraser, so many patrons, man. It's
me and Fraser have been doing this now for almost 2 years, I think, and we want to keep going. We want to keep growing the Patreon. We want to keep growing the YouTube, and we're trying to get it to a point where it can really help supplement, some things in our life.
Yeah, man. It's fucking awesome, man. Like it's just fucking awesome. Like, it's weird to say, like, I'm proud of you guys, because it sounds like kind of lame, but like I am. It's like you fucking built like a
dude.
Go ahead,
the second Blue Chew wants to get, I'm gonna be reading Blue Chew's.
I can't wait to read Blue Chew.
I'll be on Blue Chew all day.
Pull my boner out on the stream.
I will say this: I do not take it for granted that this podcast, we've been doing it for almost 2 years, and we're on episode 1. This is episode 136. We recorded 136 normal episodes, and then God knows how many Patreon exclusive episodes that come out every month. But I love the fact that I've seen a lot of podcasts start since you and I started, Kenny, and I have never been a gatekeeper kind of person. I think the more the merrier. I think that everyone has their own unique perspective, and that's the beautiful thing about life, is that some people ask me, literally have messaged me before and said, how do you feel about this other Yu-Gi-Oh player starting a podcast now? And I was like, great. I hope that they do well. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't like gatekeeper mentality, but more importantly than that is, and this is kind of a toot our own horn, but being consistent, doing 2 episodes a week, for literally almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in like 3 months. Doing 2 episodes a week for 2 years almost is insane. Just the amount of consistency.
Yeah,
you guys listening, you guys get to hear the end result, but every single week, Kenny and I have to work around each other's schedule, and we have to figure out what we're going to talk about, and we have to research it and like prepare complete ideas on what we're going to do. And it's a lot of work that goes into it. And I do not take it for granted that somehow, some way, we've been able to be consistent. And that's something that I do not see with a lot of the other podcasts. Like, if nothing else, we are extremely consistent at making sure we drop content every single week for you guys.
And then I also think there's an old mindset that people have of like, there's only so much, like every podcast or everything is competition, and I don't view it that way. I view it as like a rising tide raises all ships. Like, more podcasts, more people out there. It's like, it's awesome, and then like we all help each other. We all help the space, and it's just like, it's what, like, if somebody wants me on their podcast, like I will happily go on their podcast and talk to them, and vice versa. Like,
yep,
it's all just fucking awesome shit. And I have no problem shouting people out.
Thinking about starting a podcast.
Except Cheyenne. I don't want
I'm podcast, and my name will be just Jenny, and I'll be on with Leisure, and I was just gonna do that. Is that cool?
Yeah, I'm down with it. I'm down.
Rip the whole idea.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be basically you guys.
Yeah, like I think that the good thing about us is that we run our own race. We're not in competition with anyone. And I wish success to everyone who starts a podcast. And if you were thinking about starting a podcast, if you were inspired by us,
do it.
Then fucking do it. Just do it. Like literally, we researched how to do it. We literally
research is a strong word. We just kind of like one day we're like we're gonna start a podcast, and we were like, how do we do it? And we were like, we kind of like. Once again, we researched in quotes, and then literally next week we were like, I don't know, let's just start recording.
Let's just start recording.
I only have one episode of my podcast. I need to do more.
See,
I want to. It's fucking
consistency,
fun,
man. Everyone has
you
to
gotta have a buddy though. Like if you don't have a fun buddy with you,
well, Bill,
like,
right?
I want to do it with Kenny.
Isn't Bill?
Sorry, what?
Isn't Bill the buddy? Bill could be the buddy.
I love Bill. He's just not a podcast buddy all the time. Like I think he'd be a fun bud. But I think Kenny, like me and Kenny will say ridiculous shit to make each other laugh, and I think that's like
the problem is where are you giving Kenny 20 more hours a day is what I want to know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Because right now that we've ramped up our YouTube stuff, I don't have time for anything. Okay,
I don't. I really don't.
Like
tomorrow.
Go ahead.
I had to get you guys on today. Initially, we were supposed to do Monday, and then like I needed today to happen because I had completely forgot that I have to go down to City Hall tomorrow for jury duty.
Oh no, I have jury duty. I have a summons. I have a summons right in front of me.
You guys are on the same thing. Wouldn't that be fucking crazy?
Nah, mine is not until next week, but I do have a jury duty summons. It really fucking sucks. But yeah, being consistent at this shit is definitely it's definitely a task, and we're making it work. But there's just
I think the consistency. Honestly, I can only say the only reason I could say this is because when I used to stream consistently, I would notice the same people and blah blah blah. Like I think it's really, really, really fucking hard to grow anything. A podcast,
yeah, it is hard.
But consistency, I literally think you could put out. Not saying you guys do this. I'm just saying anyone. You could put out the shittest content if it's consistent. Don't fucking turn up.
I think that's true as well. I think that because I've dropped things that I got used to just because
you were just watching it.
They were just consistent. They would drop and I was like, you know what? I actually do not like this.
Yeah, you're like, I don't even fucking like this. What am I doing?
Yeah. But no, our shit slaps. I've been told too many times by people in person and through messages that like this podcast, a lot of truck drivers, there are a shit ton of nerdy truck drivers, and I love you guys because you guys tell me all the time. Although I did take offense to this the one time, but one of the guys was like, this was recently too. I love you. But he was like, you should make the podcast longer. And I looked at him, I said, who you talking to? Mind you, I was sitting down playing my round at the PS5 tournament. And he was like, you should make it longer. And I looked back and said, who are you talking to? And he said, you do the IMNerd podcast, right? I was like, I do the IMNerd podcast. He was like, you should make it longer. I said, it's already 2 hours. He was like, well, I'm a truck driver. He said, I'm a truck driver and my drives are really, really long. I said, well, you need to find another podcast. I said it just like that too.
I learned this because like I've listened to a lot of radio shows and shit, like just sort of like Howard Sternish type shit. Like the number one audience is people in their fucking cars. Number one.
Yeah.
It's and so when that guy said that, I was like, granted, at the time, I was a little bit like annoyed with the way the PS5 tournament was going and stuff like that. So I was a little bit more snappy than I probably would have normally been. But I did mean what I said. I was like, you need to find another podcast because
hey, this is for you, man. If you're hearing this, we're at like 2 hours and 40 minutes, baby. This is for you.
This is a long ass episode, but we love everyone who supports us. Point blank, period. I love every single person who listens to this podcast. I don't care if you want the episodes to be shorter or longer, if you want them to be with more guests or less, if you hate the Yu-Gi-Oh content or you want all Yu-Gi-Oh content, no matter how you feel about it, the fact that you listen to us at all, and if you only listen to certain episodes, we appreciate every single fucking one of you guys. Like seriously.
And guys, like you think like, oh, I'll go through the YouTube archives. There's a whole fucking mystery archive on the Patreon.
That's
you
true.
just got to go get it. It's half the content is on Patreon.
Yeah,
so
there is a lot on Patreon. Now it's all organized too. Patreon is like organized. I have tags on every single thing.
Yeah, man, it's organized. It's just waiting for you.
And you get into the Discord and you get to talk to this Looney Tune Cheyenne.
Yeah,
you can be like, you can tag them in a post and be like,
first person to tag me and Majora in there. The first person to tag me in there, I'll do something weird for you. I don't know what it'll be. It's gonna be weird. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe I'll put a banana on my foot. Just something crazy. You won't know. But that's like
do something weird.
That would be the next person. The next person to tag me in there on the Patreon only Discord. I will do that. I'll like mash a banana up with my foot for you.
Don't. I'm done with you. I'm leaving. I'm done. This is it. We're wrapping up, boys and girls.
Do what makes you happy,
of all
guys.
ages.
I always say, including binge watching The Last of Us. If you haven't seen the show and you listen to this far, you're a lunatic. But please watch the show. The show is amazing. And yeah, we are out of here. Catch you in the next one. Peace.
Right, have a good day, week, night.